Thank you for joining us on our journey here to preserve the history of mixed martial arts. When I wanted to take on this project, I needed help. I brought in one of my favorite matchmakers, Miguel, and the MMA detective, Mike Davis. So to do this, we've been able to preserve history. Welcome and enjoy. Okay, welcome back to the Lights Out Podcast. Thanks for joining. Special guest today. Very excited about this one, guys. Been around for a long time. A lot of fights, almost all of them at the highest level. Unbelievable how high, just all high-level fights. You don't see that very often. Usually people have to take a long time to get there. This guy, lightning path right there. Been killing ever since. Cory Anderson. Cory, how the hell you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Chris. How about yourself?
Man, I'm living the dream right now. So, like I said, I've been fortunate lately. Been able to be in the gym, just see where you've been at, see a little bit of your work ethic and how hard you do things, and not only do things hard, but being smart about things. It's cool to have you in there, man. So thank you. What we're gonna have do is, as Mike tends to go through people's career very with the fine-tooth comb, so he's probably found out a lot about you, and he just wants to know a lot of the little intricate things. So Mike, go ahead and take this thing off.
All right, so Cory, how old were you when you started wrestling?
Started wrestling in 3rd grade.
All right. Are you one of those guys that got a lot of street fights, or were you always pretty cool?
I was always a good kid. I only wrestled because my brother did. I was the youngest of 4. Everything my older brother did, I wanted to do. So he started playing football, I played football. He played basketball, baseball, I played basketball, baseball. When he found wrestling, I found wrestling. So, I just stuck with it after that.
All right. So you went to Rockford. Was it Haniga? How do you say it?
Hananiga.
Hananiga. Okay.
That one. I ain't never heard that.
Man, bro, I ain't never even read that before. So, I don't even. All right, so you took 3rd in state. Am I correct your senior year?
Freestyle state. I never made it to actual folk style state.
Okay, and you wrestled Eric Retke.
Yep. That was one of the guys I wrestled.
Okay, so your high school career, like if you look at what you're doing in mixed martial arts and how just wrestling dominant you are, where do you think you peaked wrestling wise? Because it certainly wasn't in high school.
Oh no, I sucked in high school. I didn't win my first wrestling match until I was a sophomore in high school. I would say I peaked 2008, 2009, which is the person who brought the best out of me is here in Indiana, which is why I moved to Indiana in the first place. A guy, my wrestling coach, he took over as head coach my sophomore year in college, and I was just a fat, lazy kid. I just enjoyed wrestling, but I didn't have the grind and the work ethic I have now. So I met this guy. He just saw me one day in practice and grabbed me after practice and said, dude, you can be good. And I know you can be good. I'll make sure of it. So I didn't really peak until after I met him.
All right, you go to junior college, Lincoln Junior College, obviously very well known here in the Midwest, decent wrestling program, you're an All-American. You head over to Newberry College where you're 14-6. Did you have issues adjusting there to the levels of wrestling?
Oh, no, I didn't have issues wrestling to the adjustment of wrestling. It was the adjustment of the coach. The coach and I we never seen eye to eye. It was pretty much every match. It was before I was up on the mat, we were fighting. That's the reason why I was only there for a year. It was just a whole bad ordeal. It went bad fast. Do you want me to go into detail on that, or we're gonna?
Man, bro, you've never talked about it. Like you hear like little snippets.
Okay, well, the guy's name was Jason Vallet. I usually don't air dirty laundry and put names out, but it's one guy I don't mind putting out there just to keep people away from. It was. At the time, I left junior college, as a young kid, you're trying to look to go where you're going to get the most money. Who's going to give me the most money? I had full ride offers, man, all these other good things that just sounded great. NC, North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and lots of great party schools, all kinds of different things to entice you. And then Vallet came along, and I had never really met him. I was always talking in email and text, and everything he pitched, it sounded good. And you come here, I give you a full ride. We're the number 2 country in the D2, you come here, you can wrestle, you be great, blah, blah, blah. But as soon as I signed it in LI, I remember when I got there, my parents left for orientation. And he said, I thought he was joking. He was like, yeah, you're like mine now, right? And I own you pretty much now. I'm your mom and dad now. I thought he was just joking. And then in wrestling practice, I beat the starting heavyweight up pretty bad. I beat all the other heavyweights up. And he just comes over to me and he said, just so you know, you'll never wrestle for me. You'll never start unless you go down to 197. I was like, what? Like, I'm a heavyweight. Why'd I go 197? Like, you'll never start for me unless you go to 197. So he would make me and this guy wrestle off, and I would beat the guy every time. Like, still not starting. And the kid beat me one match in the actual tournament, beat me by riding time. Like, oh, well, now he beat you, so now we can't say anything. Without the whole year, he would like make me come to practice and wrestle this guy off, and I would beat him. I think the worst I beat him was like 14-2 once. And he's like, yep, you're still not going to start. Like, yeah, why you keep making me wrestle him off? Like, what am I doing this for? And then he was suspended from the team because he was getting out. Like, you're suspended. Like, all right, whatever. I go back to my room or whatever, my house. I'll be drinking. I was doing things. I started talking to other schools, trying to get out of there. Like, it was dark. I was in a dark spot because he put that shadow over my head. And I'm thankful for it today, and we'll get into that later on down the line. But at the time, I was 19 years old, just barely can do anything on my own. And I'm 14, 15 hours away from home with no closest family, no friends, no nothing. So this guy was just like ruining my life. I tell you all the time, it's such a dark spot that I'm a big motorcycle rider. And I've always told myself when I got my license, like, I will never drink and ride a motorcycle. I will never drink an alcohol beverage and get on a motorcycle. Or I was out there drinking 2 or 3, 4 locos with 2 or 3 more in my backpack on my crotch rocket and just flying around. Like, I just didn't care. I was just in a very dark spot where I really didn't care what happened because he was pretty much manipulating me and using me as a practice partner. But every time things would go good, he'd make sure he bring me down a level, just so I could never really be happy, truly happy. He was suspending me because like I was heavyweight. And the other guys that didn't have to make weight, they had weight checks every week. I'm heavyweight. I don't have a weight check. But one day I come to practice and I get on the scale. Like, for what? You got a weight check. I'm a heavyweight. What are you talking about? I look on the board and he put my name on the weight check and I had to be like 243. I was 246 and suspended me from the team for a week because I missed weight. Like, I'm a heavyweight. Like, I wrestled 265. Like, why nobody else got a weight check but just me? And then, like, he had a property where one of the national champs, the other guys, they lived at his house. And it was a lake and hunting property. And we go out there and we would go fishing and take 22 rifles and shoot rabbits and squirrels. And one time he pulled up and pretty much the whole team is out there and he sees me like, what you doing on my property? Like, I'm hanging out with the team. What you talking about? Like, you ruining my hunting season. Get off my property. Like, yo, everybody, why you only yelling at me? And he just kicked me off the property. Don't ever come back. I called the cops to come back. Like, yeah, like, and he used to call this guy Kelly Anundson. You might know him, Chris. He fought. He went to Ultimate Fighter. He was on an episode with me. But at the time, he was fighting in Bellator. He would call him back. I got this guy. He's going to whoop your ass, Like, beat everybody in the wrestling room. But you can't beat this guy. This guy can whoop your ass. And they come back to the wrestling room, and I would just tear him up, like eat him up. Like, this is what you got? You call this guy in to beat me up? This dude trash. And he was like, well, you just wait. If you guys did MMA, he'd kill you in MMA. Funny story, my first fight to get into the House of the Ultimate Fighter was Kelly Anundson. First round, he took me down a couple times, but once I got up, I beat the brakes off of him again. And in a 2-round fight, beat him unanimous decision. And I remember the first time I seen him after that, because I was coaching at Lincoln at the time, I was coming back and went to national duels in Springfield. I remember going out to the front desk to get something for my kids, and I look over to the right, and who was there? Jason Fowler. I was like, yo, what up, coach? And he just looked at me, shook his head, and left. And the other coach came up like, yo, he's pissed. He hates the fact that you beat Kelly that bad on live TV. And like, yo, forget him, dude. Like, he was, to this day, it's still a salty taste. I don't think I've ever forgiven him. But at the same time, everything he put me through helped me progress in the life I'm living now.
Where do you think that came from?
I have no clue. I couldn't even tell you. I never asked. I didn't even finish school here. Like, I ended up going to the athletic director, telling him what was going on, talk to my teacher so I could take all my finals early. Once season was over, I did a couple off-season tournaments that they had to pay for to get me to just so I can meet other coaches face-to-face, and, like, told them on the low, like, yo, when I'm done with this, I'm leaving Newberry. So if y'all need somebody, look me up because I'm not going to be in school anymore, so I'll be looking for a place to go. And then once I finished with that, I just went to the AD, told them what was going on, and let me leave. And I just couldn't go D2 again. I was able to get out of there early. I just had to go to another division.
Hey, did you ever see him like treat anybody else like that, or did he had been known to do that like in the past to anybody else or anything like that? Did he just like not like certain people or anything?
I mean, he was a dick to certain kids, but those kids weren't like good. You know, it was like his other heavyweight, really big kid. He wasn't any good, so he was never really in practice. So he was a dick to him. He just wouldn't show up. It didn't matter. He didn't have a scholarship. He had to walk on. But I
Yeah.
don't think there was anybody else that he like gave a full ride to come there just to like abuse. And I think really the reason was I think he just wanted to make sure nobody else can pick me up as a heavyweight. I don't know, because at the time I was probably one of the #1 heavyweight recruits at the time coming out of JUCO. I did so well. I was the only one eligible. And I don't know. It's like so many opportunities. And the biggest regret I have is my coach, Stephen Bradley, who I'm here helping in Indiana. I remember him calling me before I made my decision. Like, just remember, Cory, this is going to be the biggest decision in your life. Do not let the money dictate what you do. He said, it's going to be a lot of offers because you're a really good heavyweight. Do not go for the money. As a kid, you know, yeah, I'm listening, coach. I hear you. I hear you. I got off the phone and call him, like, yeah, let's do it. I wanted to sign. Let's sign. Full ride. My housing paid for. Blah. Let's do it. And end up being, like he said, it'd be the biggest decision. If you make the wrong decision, it can be your worst decision.
Chris, I just kind of want to point something out. There's a long list, and I've heard Cory kind of address this in other interviews, but he's never went this deep on what exactly took place there. This is the first time he's really laid it all out. There's many things that Cory could say that the reason, one of them being racial, has never come out of his mouth. Whether it's a factor or not, it's not something he's ever addressed or said was a part of the issue. It speaks volumes of your character, man. And it's like, I just want to set the tone of this interview because, dude, I went through your career. You're one of the most real dudes that like has ever sat in front of us in one of these interviews. So
one thing about me, I've always told my mom, like, I'm an open book. She gets mad sometimes. Like, why do you go on interviews and you just say everything? Like, because I don't really have secrets, man. If somebody asks, I'm going to tell them. Like, when I got with my wife today, when we went on our first date, I aired out all my own dirty laundry. Like, right at the show, like our first time hanging out. And she even said, like, it was red flags. Like, I thought when smoke was where there's smoke, there's fire. And she stayed away from me for a while. But then when we got into a relationship and those red flags I warned her of, those females were trying to pop up and people would say stuff, it wasn't like a shock because I had already aired my own laundry out.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure, like, I don't have anything in the closet when it comes down to it. So.
And on a different note, real quick, you driving around after drinking 3 or 4 of those Four Locos is insane, man. I've had one experience with the Four Locos. We always make a joke about that stuff's nuts. So riding your motorcycle, that's crazy, man.
Them Four Locos do you dirty, man. I think
man.
the first hangover I had drank 4 Four Locos one night and did a keg stand for like 20 seconds and then was drinking vodka shots. This was in South Carolina again. I just didn't care. I was living a life that's not me at all, not Cory Anderson. And I remember when I woke up, I was probably hungover for like a week and a half. I remember just standing on my couch for like a week and a half. Like I never got up. I couldn't move. Like my body, I thought I probably had alcohol poison, but I was hurting so bad. I literally sat on that couch for a week and a half. Like I was dead.
Mike, do you remember that fight you put on where me and Mitrione showed up and Ed Jones and we were not in good position? I was a Four Loco. That was a Four Loco that happened. We were a wreck. And
my entire security staff and the door were frightened. And I'm like, oh, they're actually professional fighters. They didn't believe it. These guys were a mess.
We were a wreck. It was bad news, man. It was Four Loco. We had like 3 of those, and like it got ugly the whole night. But we ended up at the fights, and we were in the back, and I know people were just looking at us like, oh my, these guys are professionals. Yeah, it was ugly.
I think drinking Four Loco like half of one in the night, just chilling. You know, because that's one that can get you going fast. So I want to just take the top off and relax, like take my mind off a bad practice or just a bad week. I would grab me a Four Loco and just like pour half of it in a cup, and I'll just be in the couch like, my wife would come in the house, I'm like this. You're right, like, yeah, I have me a Four Loco.
I've never touched it since. I've never touched the Four Loco. That was one and done for me, man. I was like, that's all I got for that. You're the devil.
So yeah, you gotta have a strong gut for that, because to go back after your first hangover of Four Loco, you gotta be crazy, ballsy, or stupid, one of the two.
I love it. Bring it up to Demetrio and he'll laugh his ass off.
Yeah. So Cory, you meet Ben Askrin at junior college. You take second place at nationals, 46-5. But your MMA career, you go with Mark Fiore when you like your beginning training. You go with Mark Fiore and Hit Squad. Why didn't you stay with Askren?
Okay, so I met Ben in my senior year at D3. This was after Newberry, when I left Newberry. And I actually wasn't going to go to school. After being home, it was hard, having trust issues to trust any coach. And this coach pulled up at my house one day while I was working for my father. He was like, I know you got trust issues. I heard about the whole ordeal, but I want you to come with me. I got some people that I feel around us that can help you, not only with your career in wrestling, but after wrestling. And, you know, one of those people was Ben Askren, Russ Davey, Brandon Williams, the coach. It was a bunch of guys that I met there, but Ben was one of the guys I was really influential, as you see MMA. And I went to Rufus Sport. Literally, after I took second in the finals, I remember going to get my phone at the locker room. I'm crying. I'm upset. And I look, and one of the first texts is Ben Askren, like, yo, congratulations. At the end of the day, there's only 10 or 20 people that make it to the finals. And only one in each class, or 10 guys can win. You're one of those top 20, man. Keep your head up. But tomorrow, if you want to, I wanted to try out for the Olympic team, the junior Olympic team, because when you take second, you automatically qualify for the trials. Okay, like, if you want to continue to wrestle Olympic style, meet me at this address tomorrow, blah, 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 or not Monday, and we'll start wrestling again. I was like, all right, cool. So I go there, and the gym was Rufus Sport. And, you know, I remember going in there and you see Anthony Pettis in there jumping off the cage, doing kicks for Toyo Tire, doing his video. You know, Eric Pope, Pascal Cruas, all these guys, I never knew who they were at the time. And they're doing this stuff. And Rufus Sport at the time was like a very, very big gym. This is actually where I met my wife. The first day I met my wife, she was working the front desk. And I remember going there, I'm thinking like, yo, what is all this? Being like, oh, it's wrestling. Like, yeah, I know. I thought I was going to wrestle. But I want you to try it. I mean, this is your new spot. I want you to try it. If you just try it today and you don't like it, I never mention it again. If you like it, you're more than welcome to come here and train every day. I didn't try it. I just sat there and watched. And I just remember, like, I boxed before back in junior college, but I ain't going to do this. I got home. I got out. I left. And the whole way home, it's an hour and 15-minute drive to my parents' house from Milwaukee back home. So the whole way I'm driving, I'm thinking to myself, like, yo, you a real big bitch for not trying. Like, why did you give it a just give it a try? What's the worst that could have happened? Like, yo, why did you take an opportunity? Like, you guys start taking opportunities, Cory. You got to stop doing it. And I remember when I get home, I tell myself, tomorrow morning, I'm getting up and going back. So I wake up at 7:30, and I jump on my motorcycle, and I fly back, and I make 9 o'clock practice. And this time I meet Dick Rufus at the door. Like, yeah, I came here yesterday, and I kind of chickened out, but today I want to give it a try. Like, oh, good thing you came back, because it's sparring day. Like, yo, I box spar. He's like, that's fine. Do what you do. So he gave me some shin pads and the headgear, and I did what I did. And I went out the first time with Anthony Pettis. So Anthony kept leg kicking. So I couldn't leg kick. I never took a leg kick before. Like, yo, he can't do that. Yes, he can. He's MMA, but do what you do. So I took him down. All right, now you're taking him down, but you're too big to take Anthony down. Let's go to the other guy. So I went Ben. Ben is more scrappy wrestler, but I had a little boxing, so I hit him with his hands. He's like, all right, now he's starting to get the hang of it. Let's move to a heavyweight. And the heavyweight, I just fucking dominated. I'm like, okay, there you go. And now you know you can do MMA. And he said it. He was the first person to say it. In 3 fights, I can see you being in the UFC, bro. I'm just telling you, from your athleticism and your size and where you work. In 3 fights, you can be in the UFC. I'm like, I don't even have any fights. Like, I'm telling you what I see in you. I'm working with them. And then Coach Bradley, Stephen Bradley, the coach here at Marion at the time, he calls me and was like, yo, I know you're not working. You just graduated college. I have a position down here at Lincoln College if you want to come down and help. I would love to have you come down and be the heavyweight coach for me. I need a heavyweight coach. And you're like the first person that came to my mind. Coach Bradley did so much for me. I was like, bet, I'm out. First day down there, Mark Fiore comes into the room. He brings this kid, Eddie, I can't remember his name. Eddie, but his fight name was Smash Machine. Eddie Smith or Eddie something. And I meet Mark Fiore, but I met him when I was at Lincoln because he came down with Matt Hughes. Like, yeah, I heard you started fighting and whatnot. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to do it now because no gyms. Like, yeah, it is. I got a gym like 25 minutes down the road. Come down tomorrow morning. You can start training with us. Like, all right, bet. So that morning, I wake up and go down there, and I meet Mark and his whole team at Fiore MMA. And that's where I ended up with those guys.
Okay, so was Robbie Lawlor and Matt Hughes in the gym at that time?
No, they weren't there anymore.
Was Neil Magny there?
No. There was no. The only big name they had at the time was Dustin Jacoby, who's killing it now in his second stint in the UFC. But at the time, he had just signed with World Series. This was like, I think that week, World Series announced that they were starting this new promotion. And he was like one of the first signees set to fight David Branch and all that. So I remember that day like it was yesterday when they came in there interviewing him about fighting David Branch, two guys that have been in the UFC and whatnot.
Okay.
Oh, Brian Foster. Brian Foster was another big name that was there.
Was Matt Veach there?
Yep, Matt Veach. I forgot he was in the UFC. I guess a few guys, Bobby Branch. Yeah. So I guess there was a few UFC guys that was in there.
So Cory, at this time, were you wanting to fight at heavyweight, or what was your plan then? Because you were wrestling heavyweight.
I was fighting at heavyweight. I didn't fight 205 until the Ultimate Fighter. I had fought at heavyweight.
Okay.
Amateur boxing in those first 3 fights, all the way up until the Ultimate Fighter.
What made you decide to drop down? You just feel like you weren't big enough, or you just feel like that? The heavyweights were just too big, or why'd you decide to drop down?
My first fight I was like 230, 235, where I am right now. And I wasn't shaped like I am now. I had like not a gut, but I was a little thicker. I didn't have abs, I didn't have pecs and all that. But I remember as like the summertime came around and was training in this building, it was like so hot. I got down like 217 one practice. He was too hot. The coach was like, yo, why don't you go 205? I'm like, wow, I'm heavyweight. I'm fast and heavyweight. I'm killing guys. And then one of my teammates was a 205er. He was supposed to fight in like 2-3 weeks. And then he ended up getting hurt the week of the fight. And he was fighting 205. At the time, I was like, still 217. And he's like, Cory, yo, I think you can make 205. You want to make this opportunity to go fight for this belt at 205. This is only my second fight at the time. And I was like, you think I can make the weight? Like, bro, people cut this in a day. You can make it. So, like, you go with the boxing coach, y'all jump in the car, y'all drive to Oklahoma, and you just make weight when you get there. But on the way there, I was like, all right, we're just making a catch weight, 212. Can you make 212? Yeah, I can make 212. I'm like 213 right now. So I got 212, and dude was the 205 champ in Oklahoma, Myron Dennis. And I went out there, and I remember beating him, unanimous decision, 5 rounds, took him down like 15 times in the fight, and blah, blah. And I didn't win the belt because of the catch weight, but the promoter, Dale Cook, ended up sending me the belt later on, like a year or so later after I did the Ultimate Fighter. He sent me the belt, like, you beat the champ, you deserve it. You beat him pretty good. And I got the belt at my house in Jersey where I train at. And it was pretty cool. And after that, I had one more fight, again, heavyweight.
Let me rewind just a little bit, because Myron Dennis was dude, it was friggin' insane. I think Dale Apollo was the promoter there. But you actually started with Duke Rufus's promotion with J.R. Briones. You had a canceled bout prior to that, but J.R. Briones, super chunk, trains with Reece Shaner. Your first fight, did you realize that your entire life would change and this would be the direction it went in?
No. To be honest, it was my first legit fight. I had a fight before that, more like a smoker. It was supposed to be my pro debut for Capital City Cage was in Springfield. And the lady, I can't remember, Nancy something, the Illinois promoter, or the
Nancy Ilg.
Whatever her name is, the commissioner of Illinois, she was just doing everything she can to make sure I couldn't get my license to go pro right away. Duke wrote a letter, everybody was like, yo, this guy can do it. And then the opponent I was supposed to fight showed up without his blood work or anything, without any of his medical. So like, well, now you can't fight. And there's this other kid there, heavyweight. And he's like, oh, I want to fight. I'm supposed to make my pro debut in a little bit. How about we fight? Like, all right, y'all can do an exhibition. And I ended up knocking him out like 9 seconds. So they didn't put that on my record. It was a big ordeal because the kid tried to sue the commissioner because they didn't know I was such a good wrestler. And I just went out and blast doubled him, just hit him with, stood up right over, just started jab, cross him in the face, and put him out in 9 seconds. And the team was mad, so they cut that off my record. So they made an exhibition. I got paid still, but it ended up going down as an exhibition because all the ordeal that came out after. But yeah.
So to Briones, you have Myron Dennis. Obviously, he's a standout wrestler. You beat him. He was 7-2 at the time, and you were 1-0. You didn't care who you were fighting.
No, I really didn't. I mean, that's the same way now. Like, it was the same way in the UFC when I got there. I didn't care. Until I understood the politics and how it worked, I didn't care who I fought. Like, I just wanted to fight everybody just to prove I was the best. Like, I knew I could beat anybody, just like I do now. I just believe it. The way I work, like Chris said, the way I work, my work ethic, and everything I do, I put everything into it. I did it before I even started. I remember looking at myself in the bathroom, like, we're going to do this. We're going to do this all out. Ain't nobody going to touch us. And we did it. And I remember when they told me, to be honest, when I said I'm going to take that fight, I didn't know who I was fighting. I didn't know how many rounds. I didn't know if I was getting paid or not. When they talking to me, it's like, yo, you can make 205. Like, all right, let's go. Let's jump in the car and let's go. Went to my house, grabbed my stuff, and was gone. I didn't know who my opponent was. I didn't know it was the main event. I didn't know what to say until we got there. When I got to the hotel, like, yo, hurry up, you got the press conference. Like, press conference for what? Like, you the main event. Like, what? It's like, yeah, you fighting Myron Future Tennis. He's like a big guy in Oklahoma. He's like, the next big thing to go to the UFC is like, okay,
we'll see.
Like, I guess. Yeah, like, I guess. Like, I know nothing was going on. And me and my boxing coach would go up there on the thing. And he's like, yo, of course, what's your plan? This and this. Like, I'm just going to go out there and do what I do. I'm a wrestler. Like, you got any other words? Like, nah. And that was it for me. And he was doing all this talking. He's the reason why I'm in the future, such and such, whatever. And I remember going to the bar, and it was me and my coach, no fans on our side. I remember walking out, and everybody booed me. And then when it was all over said and done, it was crazy how many fans was like, yo, you are the future, man. You are so cool. You can't even just manhandle this dude. It was, to me, it was nothing. I didn't know how good he was. It was just another fight for me, just another victim on the record. That was it.
Hey, man, do you like it? Do you like it when people boo you? Does that give you energy, man? I know sometimes, man, there's nothing better than being the spoiler. When you go in there and beat somebody in their hometown, you hear crickets afterwards. I mean, that's one of the best feelings of all time, in my opinion. Being booed, I love it.
I hate being the favorite. I hate being the favorite. I love being the underdog because I have nothing to – like when you're the favorite, it's like everybody expects you to win. And it's like you have nothing to gain from that. When I'm the underdog and everybody doubt me, and my favorite thing, I said when I got to Bellator, they said, what do you plan on coming here? Because I plan on coming here, grounding, pounding, and shushing the crowd every time. And all 4 fights, I've been booed coming out when there was no fans. I was the underdog, and now we got fans. Ryan Bader, Nemkov, they cheered for me because the Russian-Ukraine thing. But the underdogs and all the betting people said there was no way Cory Anderson can beat Nemkov. He can't even come close. Granted, it was a no contest. When it was all over said and done, and like to change the tones in everybody's faces, everybody that talked to me after was like, bro, we did not think you could do that. It's crazy. And that's just, this is it. I don't got to say much no more. I let my actions speak for me. I don't do fight interviews anymore. I don't do fight media. Since I got in Bellator, I stopped with it because I realized it's just a headache. So I don't have anything to say until fight week. I have to. Why fight week got obligations? That's the only time I do it. Other than that, I stay away from interviews. I don't have anything to say. And at the end, everybody doubt me. And I just, when it's all said and done, I got my hand raised. I always do this. Like, just remember what you said, because I keep all receipts. I save tweets. I screenshot messages. I record interviews. I keep them all for this reason. And then I air them all out after I win. Like, remember when y'all said this? I post. Like, what do y'all say now? So
I love it. That's good stuff, man.
You also fought August 24, 2013, Stephan Flannigan. It's actually your third and last independent grind fight.
Yeah. Everything happened within, 6 months? I debuted March 2nd. Fought my second one March 29th. Well, the smoke was March 2nd. The first one was March 29th. The next one was June or whatever when I fought Myron. And then shortly after, I fought Flannigan. And that was in Indiana, actually.
In Evansville. Miguel's on stomping grounds. So check this out. He just laid it out. Within 6 months, 3 fights, and he's now trying out for the Ultimate Fighter.
Now, Cory, here's a question for you. I mean, a lot of people, even being good wrestlers, it takes a while to mesh this all together and learn how to not get submitted, all this other stuff. Are you just training twice a day, or how's this coming so quickly for you?
I used to just train twice a day. I mean, like I said, everything I do it, I give it my all. And I'm the type to ask questions. I take notes. So if I get caught in something, I'm not going to get caught in it. Like, oh, I just got caught. No. After I'm going to ask coach or the person, like, yo, what did you do to catch me? How did you do that? Like, what is it that you're doing? And then I make sure it don't happen again. If it happens again, I keep asking, like, yo, is there another way to defend it? And I've just always been that way. Since I started peaking and understanding how competing and how champs work, I listen to podcasts that have champs on it just to hear the way they think and talk and the way they train. And I take things like that and I do it myself. So, and again, I didn't have an amateur career. People don't realize that. I took my first actual class in 2007, no, 18, after I got head kick knocked out by OSP. Other than that, I had never took like a jiu-jitsu class, a boxing class, a kickboxing class. I always just went into pro practice where it's just like a grind. Coaches call stuff out that everybody already knows. But as for me, I'm oblivious, but I'm not going to tell them I don't know. I just pay attention to what people are doing and just fit in. You know, sometimes I mess up like, yo, what are you doing? Like, my bad, I forgot the combo. But really, I just didn't know what I was doing. I just started studying and seeing what somebody else was doing. Okay, I got it. Then I do it. There you go, that was right. And it wasn't until after I got head kick knocked out, I realized I don't know how to block head kicks. I was like, I didn't know how to block the head kick. Like, so even if we kicked it in my hands was up, I probably still would have got me because I had no clue. Like, you're supposed to X block and try to use his hand to absorb the kick. And I remember one of my training partners, the Glory kickboxer, and I told him, like, bro, he was at the fight, like, I didn't know what, even if I did block, I didn't know what to do. I need to start working with you kickboxing. And I went to like a basic kickboxing class with like mom and dads and kids learning. And I'd be like, yo, aren't you UFC fighter, Cory? I'm like, I'm here to learn just like y'all. And after that, I would do boxing classes at my other gym. And I would go to my jiu-jitsu coach, like professor. I never actually had, like to this day, I don't do submissions because I always grew up in a pro practice where you just ground and pound. Now I mastered that, but now I'm at the point where I'm learning submissions. I didn't grow up in a class where you learn submissions and collar chokes and wearing a gi, the basic stuff. So I didn't know that. I've learned just swimming with the sharks the whole time. And one of the coaches said, like, you just have to learn on the job, man. You're going to go in, you're going to go pro, and every day is going to be a learning lesson for you. Just learn on the job. And if you got questions, ask. And that's all I've done my whole career.
You know, I'm sorry, Chris. I just want to ask Cory. I just want to ask, do you have any regrets about that? Like, do you wish you had like 10 or 15 fights on the independent grind before the UFC to like prepare some of that stuff? Because God bless Myron Dennis, because he took you 25 minutes and then all the other nonsense you said around the fight. But that's the extent of your experience. That basically that fight, because everything else was kind of easy.
I mean, as for like a regret or in times it's like I wish I had those amateur fights. I wish I had more time to learn the lessons I learned on pay-per-view, you know, because all my biggest losses are always on pay-per-view, or the biggest card or something, you know. So it's like if you watch now, to this day, like when a guy that's still fighting, I lost in the UFC on Twitter, every time they get ready to come to fight, I'm one of their highlight knockouts, you know. And at the time, people go, oh, you're talking about Cory Anderson the Great, he got knocked out by OSP, Jimi, Manuwa, and these guys. But like you said, nobody knows my story. Like you said, people don't know my story. They don't realize I had 3 fights. They don't realize I grew up in this thing. I went from 0-0 to 0-3 to the top 10 in the UFC within a year of fighting. People don't understand that. Like I beat Gian Blachowicz my 5th fight ever. Right? Who was just a champ. I beat the dog breaks off of my 5th fight ever on short notice. I knew nothing but a jab, cross, and wrestling. That's all I knew for that fight. And I went out there and dominated. People don't understand that because all they see is that last fight when we fought and I got knocked out. They don't realize what anybody can get caught, but it was more than just that. It was so much baggage I had. But we'll get into all that as we get later into the story.
Right. So Cory or Miguel, as a former promoter, imagine you can't find somebody to fight your main event. You get somebody last minute, he never even asks about money, never really asks about weight, and he shows up and beats your biggest ticket seller, someone that the entire locker room is afraid of. Like, that's like a promoter's wet dream that turns into like a nightmare, which very rarely, if ever, happened.
Well, I'm a very rare case of person, I guess you can say, because and to this day, me and Dale, he'll message me here and there after fights, and I comment on his stuff on Facebook, and you know, all those guys, there was another guy, Mikkel, I can't remember his name. He has a jiu-jitsu program in Oklahoma. He messaged me a lot or comments on my stuff a lot. And he says, bro, I've been following you since we signed you as a co-promoter. Since we signed you for that fight. It's just amazing to see what you did. You went from your 2nd fight to where you are now. And it's one thing they all say, you just never change. I remember sitting in the hallway with you after the fight, drinking beers. Your personality has never changed. You're the same person. You kept the same mindset, which is why you are where you are. You know,
so I believe that's the fight that got you, that gave you the credibility for the Ultimate Fighter to pay attention to you. What do you think during the tryout process was either the line or the moment that when you knew you made the show?
When I dropped Matt Hughes' name. I already know it. I remember I made it through the grappling portion. I made it to the striking. I made it to the grappling. And I remember we was in there, and I can't remember. For some reason, I can't remember the producer's name now. Craig. I remember talking to him, and he was talking. He just had this look. I remember he had his glasses on here, just sitting back in the chair, and he was looking. He was like, so, well, here was a line I said before I dropped Matt's name. Like, so, if we told you were making the show, could you be ready to go in 3 weeks? I said, I was ready to go yesterday. You tell me I'm going, my bag's already packed. He's like, so who do you train with that you think could make you ready for your ultimate fighter? I'm like, oh, I train with Matt. He's like, oh, you know Matty. You know Matty, my buddy Matty. Matty, you know I love Matt. This and this. And I was like, okay, Mr. Anderson, well, we like the story and we'll get back to you. But I knew after I said Matt's name, he jumped up in the chair. I knew, like, I think that was going to be my golden ticket. Like, I know a big name guy. I believe at the time he was still the world champ. I think that's going to be my end. So, and yeah, they called me in.
That's good. Did you call Matt after this?
I actually trained with him after I was in Lincoln, he was up in Litchfield. So I used to drive up to his farm and train with him at this little gym here and there, or he would come down to Lincoln and wrestle or whatever. But he had already knew I was going to the tryouts. So
that's cool. That's actually really cool. So Bobby Brents, the Zombie Freak, you guys show up to the Ultimate Fighter. I mean, obviously you make it. Your other teammate does not. Kelly Anundson. That is a guy that you talked about earlier. He is the guy your coach in college brings in to kind of run you off the team. You leave the team, go somewhere else, and you see him. He's 6-2, 6-1 out of the American Top Team. Did you know it was destiny that you were going to fight him that day?
Yep. I told my coach, I told Bobby right then, like, you know, if I make it, they making me fight him first, right? Why would you say that? I was like, just the politics of TV and drama, they know our story. Somehow, somewhere, they know our story. And we're going to be the ones to fight, and we're going to be the last fight. I guarantee you, if I make it, mark my words, I'm fighting Kelly. Like, bro, there's all these guys, there's like 100 guys here. You think you're going to fight him? Yep. And sure enough, and I fought him. And it's funny because, like, I thought maybe they actually had faith in me to come here and do something because of the way I talk to the media. But again, Craig, the guy, I remember after every fight, he would come up and say something to me. I remember after I beat Kelly when I walked out the cage, and he came up and he grabbed me. He's like, I just want to let you know, Mr. Anderson, we kind of brought you on as a joke. What you mean? He's like a kid with 3 fights. He was talking all this noise. We can beat everybody. We knew you had beef with you and Kelly. We figured we get you in. We wanted Kelly to win. He was our number 1 pick. He got the background. He's got this. He was a Pan Am champ, this and that. We figured we get you in, and with the beef and the drama, he beat you. He can get in unhurt and have an easy road to the thing. And you went out there and beat him. Because I just want you to tell right now, Mr. Anderson, you got 3 fights to change your life. 3 more fights. And the reason why they said to change your life, because when we came in, if you go back and watch before we fight, you hear Dana say, when they came in here and walked around a lot in the arena, looked around it, one thing Cory said, he said, man, this is crazy. Tomorrow I'm either going to find out if my life is going to change or there's going to be another black guy. And he said that right before I walked in. And Cory said, this could change his life or there's going to be another black guy. And that's what he said. You got 3 fights to change your life. So after that, every fight, every time I would win, he'll come to the cage and tell me 2 more fights. All right, congratulations, Cory. 1 more fight. When I won the semis, like, all right, Cory, you got 1 more fight. Change. This could be it. 1 more fight. Congratulations, young man. 1 more fight. And those voices stick in my head because it's just like you said now. Like, I love being an underdog for that reason because I feel like my whole career since wrestling, everything I've done, nobody ever really believed Cory can do it. Because if you knew where Cory was, if you knew Cory back when he was in Roxanne, this 300-pound fat kid, lazy as shit that didn't want to do anything, you'd understand why nobody had faith in him. But they don't know what's inside me and the way the fire burns. So for that, I love being the underdog because it ignites that same fuel I had as a kid.
Cory, I have a question for you. We talked a lot of fighters who made it to the Ultimate Fighter. Some people really enjoyed that experience on there. Some people hated it. What was your Ultimate Fighter experience like? What did you get a lot out of it?
I'm thankful for it. You know, and for me, it was a vacation because me and the girl I was with at the time was my first serious girl. We broke up literally the week before I left. So that took my mind all up. But to be honest, we broke up because of the Ultimate Fighter. I cheated at the beginning of our relationship, and she was scared when I went on and all that fame, I would come back and cheat again. So she broke up with me, and I remember driving home at night, and I was hurting. And when I left, it was still hurting, but at the same time, it was the only thing that could take my mind off of it. Because if I'm out here fighting, I'm thinking about this female, I'm gonna get beat up. So when I lock in and not focus on her and focus on the fight, and by the end of it, it was like I wasn't really thinking about it. Every night I had a journal. To this day, I got the journal here somewhere, and all the moving stuff I wrote in a notebook every day. That's like a journal. And it's titled My Story for the Ultimate Fighter. And I'm gonna make it into a book one day, but I just gotta figure out how to do it properly. And I was reading it before we moved, and there was times in there in the house I remember breaking down the room by myself where I would write down my feelings from the breakup in there. And then the next day I could tell after practice and all that, I had forgot about it because meeting with Frankie and Mark Henry. And again, if I didn't do the Ultimate Fighter, I would never met the team that I train with now to get where I am. To this day, I still train with the same coach that happened Ultimate Fighter. Mark Henry, Ricardo Almeida, Frankie Edgar, Steve Rivera, and I met some other guys in Jersey. Those have been my same coaches since the Ultimate Fighter in every single fight I've had throughout my career since then. And if it wasn't for the Ultimate Fighter, I would never met them. I wouldn't be the person I am today as a martial artist because they taught me so much.
So this guy was the first pick out of Team Frankie Edgar. Did you get any Mark Coleman time while you were there? He was one of BJ Penn's wrestling coaches.
No, I mean, we would joke around at the house and whatnot, but never got to train with him. He said it when they picked me first. I remember Mark was like, "Oh, we wanted him first," and BJ was like, "Oh, that was our pick too. We're gonna take him first. He's so long. He's long in his cardio. He could be like a John Jones. Like we wanted him." And so, like throughout the show, I would joke around with Mark Coleman at the house and whatnot, and we would pass by a red team going out of practice, blue team coming in, we would talk in the hallway. But I never actually got to train with him. I never got to learn any of his legendary things that he did.
Yeah, no, for sure. So you really walked through the house, but it's like an all-star team. You got Extreme Couture's Josh Clark, the hillbilly heartthrob. He's 7-2, amazing stand-up, no wrestling takedown defense. You get through him, you go. What's that?
That's left.
Yeah, okay. You got Patrick Walsh. He's at a Y Crew Martial Arts, 4-1. Both guys on Team Edgar. You get him as well. And then you would wind up in the finals after that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What did they do between filming and your first fight with the Ultimate Fighter finale? Was there like 8 months in between?
Let's see. We went home. I got home, 2 days before Thanksgiving? And then the finale was July. So yeah.
July 6th.
Yeah. But they started filming the other episode right behind us. Like,
how'd you pay your bills?
The new house moved, the new other guys moved in. And I can't remember. I think the next episode was live, if I'm not mistaken. Which is why it took so much time.
How'd you pay your bills? You're in the house. You're obviously captive, and now you got to go sit 8 months and you can't fight.
I went back to coaching wrestling and doing what I was doing. Before I left the Ultimate Fighter, I was supervisor of the trucking company. So I was making an hourly wage, but I was working supervisor hours. I would work 10 to 12 hours a day, making I think I was making like $18 an hour. And after I hit my 8 hours a day, it was time and a half. So I would just stay there in between training. If I didn't have to train at night when the wrestling season was over, and the head supervisor, the regional supervisor called me and was like, "Cory, I know you got a fight, or you want to fight, blah, 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 or whatever it is you want to train. You can come in early, clock in some hours, and go back to training." So I would do that all the time. I would go in whenever I wasn't doing something, just go in, clock in, do some part-time work to add hours on, go home, go to practice, and come back after practice, like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was just clocking up big checks, and just throwing it all in the bank because I could pay my rent within 1 week. So most fighters didn't have that gig that I had where my boss understood what I was chasing and he allowed me to chase my dream and just come in when I could. Whenever I had free time, I could come in and clock in because the trucking company didn't close. It was like a 24-hour process. So anytime I wanted to come in and clock in and get hours, he would let me do that so I can save money. When I had a fight or something coming up, I didn't have to come to work. He would let me just train and knew I had money or hours clocked in already.
I mean, right there, that just shows what kind of person you're dealing with, because most people I know, they ain't doing that. Like, I don't have to go. I'm not going to work today. I need to be ready. I mean, Cory's doing it at midnight, 6 in the morning, whatever. I mean, just hustling the whole time, working, making that money when he has to. That's cool.
Yeah, and at that time I was training 3 times a day. And I had an anytime fitness pass. And I remember one of my college teammates, he had just gotten to fighting. Like, I want to learn to grind for you. I want to come stay with you. He stayed on my couch. I remember the first night he did, I got home from work like 12:30 and I woke him up. Like, what you doing? Like, time to go train. What you mean? Like, we got anytime fitness pass, baby. We're training anytime. We got strength and conditioning, 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, bro, you crazy? Like, don't we gotta get up at 6:30? Like, yep, so we better get moving. And he was like, bro, you are insane. Like, it's a reason why I made it where I made it, bro. Let's go. You want to be great? Follow me. And that was the way I was. It was work, train. Again, with the breakup still on my mind, this is the stuff that kept her off my mind and just keep me going.
Chris, keep in mind, his wrestling coach said he was lazy.
Well, yeah,
this isn't something
you know what? Maybe he was at the time.
Just
maybe
pick up.
Maybe that motivated him. I don't know.
Now,
I was lazy in high school and in my freshman year. At this point, I had already been with Bradley and back in Bradley's presence. He really, I can tell anybody, if anybody asks me, like, what made you the way you are now? Like, my father was a hard worker. I always put hard work. You got to go 120%, 200%. You got to go hard all the time. But with Coach Bradley, what Stephen Bradley instilled in me is just a different thing that a father, I guess, couldn't teach. A father can teach you, but I understand it because I tell anybody, I would take a bullet. I wouldn't take a bullet for anybody. But Stephen Bradley, I would take a bullet for so he can do for my life what he did for me so he can do it to other kids throughout this world. And I see him today, like we did practice today. I'm his assistant coach now at Marion University. And I watch him tell the kids the same thing he told me back in 2007, 2008, 2009. And it's like, I tell the kids, like, yo, how do you think I got where I am? Everything he's telling you is the same thing he's been telling me. Like, he was in my corner for my first 4 UFC fights, and he would give me the same speech he gave me in wrestling as he would give me before I go into a fight. And every time it would pump me up because he's just, I don't know, he was one of the few people that believed in me. And what he saw, nobody else did. And he created exactly what he said he would, a fucking monster. And look at me now.
Now, I wanted to ask you about the TUF 19 house, because you did, we've been talking about, you didn't have a lot of fights before that. And a lot of the guys that did the UFC house felt like it was training for the media and having a camera in your face and stuff. Any weird experiences there, or anybody rub you the wrong way or anything? Because that would all be new to you, right?
It was all very new. Like meeting Frankie Edgar, like I didn't know who Renzo Gracie was. I remember when he came in as our special guest, I was like, oh my God, Renzo Gracie. Like who? Like Renzo Gracie? I was trying to read his damn paper, like Renzo what? Like Renzo Gracie? Like who the fuck is it's like one of the original pioneers of MMA. Like I had no clue. And I remember at the house they were talking about, like, yeah, I fought this guy. I'm 10-1. And this and then, like, what's your record? Like, I'm 3-0. Like, yeah, no way this kid's winning. He's a rookie. He's not winning this show. And I remember to this day, I did a podcast with Eric Gordon, or not Eric Gordon, Eddie Gordon. Eddie Truck Gordon, his podcast, Keep Trucking, Forever Trucking, a few months ago. He said, you remember what I told you in the locker room that day? And like, I was a cocky kid. Like, I believe I can beat everybody. And they be in there talking to coach, and I was just coming like, your coach, forget what they're talking about. What do I got to do for this? I just interrupt everybody's questions to give mine. And I was like, the coach, fuck your problems. You think this is a Corey Anderson show? This is the ultimate fight. This ain't the Corey Anderson show. I'm like, the hell it ain't. And to this day, every time we talk, like, you believe, like, you remember I said that, and it came out to be, it was the Corey Anderson show. To this day, out of all the people on the show, you are the only one doing everything you said you would do, and you still doing it 100%. And it's like, bro, at the time, I was a young, dumb kid just talking, but I believed in myself, even then as I do now. And it's just, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. I just have belief and faith in what I can do, and everything just worked out. So it was a lot of things like that. People was like, oh, there's no way Cory can win. He's 3-0. Again, when those guys are drinking on the show, one thing with training, I'm in campus if I don't drink. So when they would all be drinking and whatnot, I would have injuries. I remember I broke my nose on the show, but I never told anybody. I told the MTs, but when everybody was out drinking, I would sneak out the back door, and they had an ice cooler outside, and I would put ice in like my pillowcase and go back to my room and then put the ice on my nose under the pillowcase, under the blanket, so nobody knew my nose was busted. I messed my wrist up once. Same thing, go get ice and just be underneath my bed, like in the room, like I'm just chilling, everybody drinking, but really under the cover, I'm icing my injuries. So people didn't know I was hurt because we all share the house. So if somebody know I'm hurt, they're going to say, aim for his nose, hit him in the nose right away. It's going to be over. So I would like do stuff like that, or I would be in the room reading my Bible, just keeping it to myself just to keep everybody away from me, doing stuff that, like, oh, this guy's boring. Let's leave. And then when they would leave, I would stretch or start working on my wrist or ice my nose, whatever the problem was, you know. So other than that, other than this ain't the Cory Anderson show, I don't have many stories because I just kept to myself, to be honest.
Well, what was Cathal Pendred like? I don't know if you guys remember him, but he was an Irish guy that kind of had that next Conor McGregor tab. He could be like a Paddy the baddie, but he fell apart and got beat up and then never fought again, actually. But he was a big mouth. His mother painted herself in the Irish colors to get him on the show and stuff. Did he stick out, or did he really not make it?
He seemed like a golden boy, but it wasn't like he wasn't running his mouth like Conor and Paddy. He didn't do all the talking, but you can tell the way he carried himself in the way from like when the production team and everybody would come in with like our groceries and stuff, like when the way they would talk to him, like they treat him like he was already a Conor-esque. I remember when he had his beard, he came on the show and he had his beard, and throughout the show he shaved it. And I remember the first time during live recording that the producers actually buzzed into the scene, like we in there playing pool, and you see these guys run upstairs like, yo, what the fuck going on? Like, yo, is the house on fire? And they bust in the bathroom like, no. He was in there shaving his beard, and they had already marketed him as the Irish with the red beard or whatever. And they were so upset, like, you can't do that. Like, we've already started marketing you for your beard. Like, you can't. And it was like everybody else shaved their beard. They were shaving their head. They were changing stuff every day, but nobody else they say anything about. But when Cathal shaved his beard, I remember them losing. Like, they came flying up the stairs trying to stop him before he got too far, because I guess they had already, his image was going to be the guy with the red beard or something. I don't know. But yeah.
It's wild.
He's one that didn't hold water for the fans out there, you know. God bless him, because he put in an effort. I'm not putting him down, but at the highest level, he didn't hold up. So we'll see how Paddy does. Anyway, Mike, take over.
Very few can make it at the top level. That's why it's the top level. It's just like growing up, every kid says, I want to be an NFL player. And your coach says, let's be realistic. It's 100,000 people in this area that want to be pro football players, and maybe one will make it. You know what I mean? So he made it to the UFC, but like you said, he just didn't pan out. He won his first two, I think, and after that, he just lost, got finished all three after that. That was it.
Yeah, cream rises to the top, man. I mean, if not, you're going to get drank up. That's just what happens at that level. So Matt Van Buren, it's July 6, 2014. This is the finale. You go and live with Frankie Edgar's father-in-law. How long was your camp? How long did you stay there? Would you mind bringing us through that process?
It was 10 weeks. I ended up staying in the attic for 8 months.
You didn't move out.
Yeah, I did. And there was no point in going home. I remember telling my family when I left here off the fight, like, I'll come home when I'm the champion. At the time, I meant TUF champion. So I'll be back when I'm the champion. And I meant TUF. And I won. And after I won, I flew home after. I remember I just posted a picture. The fight was the 6th. On the 7th, it popped up my memory. On the 7th, I was back home taking my best friends out for a night out on me, you know, because I always said, when I make it, we make it. And after that, I flew right back to Jersey. And then they was like, yo, what you doing here so soon? I was like, I'm here to grow. I got to learn. I got a lot more learning to do so I can beat John Jones. And I remember Mark Henry to this day. He was like, bro, calm down. Like, pipe down. That's like one of the greatest right now. You just had your first fight. You got a long way to go before you get there. Let's just take it easy and let's slow it down. Going into the last fight with Nemkov, I remember telling Mark Henry, because Mark Henry said this, like, bro, I can't believe, like, where we came from. You are the best light heavyweight in the world, and I truly believe it. I say all the time, you remember that first day I came back, and I said, I'm here to beat John Jones, and you're like, yo, pipe down. We got a long way to get there. And now we there. Like, it's crazy, right? 8 years consistency. 8 years you stayed in New Jersey, and I came back after every camp. Like, yo, why do you keep coming back? Like, you just fought Saturday. It's Monday. Why are you here? Like, I'm here to train. Like, yo, go home. See your family. Like, I go home. I'm the champion. And that was it. I ended up living in New Jersey for 8 years. I stayed in the attic for 8 months. 8 months later, one of my college teammates was like, yo, you in New Jersey? Like, yeah. He was like, I live in New Jersey. He sent me his address. I happened to be 10 minutes down the street from Frankie Edgar's father-in-law. I went to visit him. He had this nice house, just him. Like, yo, you can move in here. Me and you, we could be roommates. The guy from Newberry, actually. We ended up hanging out. He was with his girl still from Newberry. They ended up getting serious. He moved out with her. I took over his house. My wife moved down. It's just a crazy thing. But like I said, I stayed until I'm gonna beat you.
What was Frankie Edgar's father-in-law like? Because he was a big part in Frankie's development as well.
The most generous man in America. I said to the day I died, Jerry Nappy. I remember I pulled up at the house. It was April 29th or something like that. I pulled up, 2 o'clock in the morning, me and my brother. And my brother make me look small. Big old scary dude, don't smile. It's pitch black. We get out, we knock on the door, and he come open the door like, "Yeah, I've been waiting for you to arrive. Welcome to New Jersey. This is it." Super friendly. Like before we get in the house, that red Mustang over there, the keys are always in it. If something go wrong with your car, you're more than welcome to take it. Another thing, I don't lock doors because somebody want to break something, or somebody wants something, they're gonna break it, they're gonna get it. I'd rather just take it and damaging my stuff. And we walking through the house, like, so we got 2 places we can go. We got the upstairs attic, we got downstairs apartment. You go downstairs, Edson and Marlon Moraes at the time, I met them from Ultimate Fighter, but I didn't really know them well. Like when they come back in the camp, they live there. So if you go down there, you have to move back upstairs. So I went upstairs, he showed me throughout the whole house. You got the kitchen here, you got 3 refrigerators downstairs for your groceries. There's another kitchen down there, kitchen here, outside kitchen. Any room that's open, you can stay there. Anything in the house you want, help yourself too. You don't have to call me. You don't have to ask me anything. Anything you want. Never met me or my brother in the blue. We just pull up at his house. Anything you want in the house, anything you need, we have everything. If it's something you can't find, you call me. If it's something you need, we'll get it. We're going to make sure you have a great camp, blah, blah, blah. This and that. Like, yo, thank you, Mr. Nappy. He said, just call me Jerry. And I remember moving up in the attic, and I talked to him here and there, going up and down the stairs. But in that 8 months I was there, he never came in the room to check on me. He never questioned me. He never asked me anything. I remember the day I moved out, he was like, "Cory, you know you don't have to leave, right? You can stay here rent-free. You don't have to pay anything. Like, I clean out the garage for you so you can put the Harley in. You want me to clean for your car too?" Like, no, sir. Like, I'm a man. I got to go do man things. I got to pay my own bills. I got to take care of myself. Like, all right, I got to ask you one question, though. You've been here 8 months. I've never seen you in the kitchen. How did you eat for 8 months? I took him upstairs and showed him. I went and got a rice cooker and an electric skillet. And I lived in the attic, and there's like a little window. And I built a table in the attic window. And I'll make the smoke go out the window. And I did that for 8 months. And he was like that. And he said, just like Chris said, that speaks volume on the kind of person you are. Like you made a kitchen in an attic, in a mini fridge, and you survived for 8 months. And you never called me or asked me for anything. Like I didn't feel like a man if I asked another man for help. I'm sorry. And that was it. So, and I remember leaving. And to this day, like we stopped by when my wife moved out. She was my girl at the time. She moved in with the nappies, you know, just to make sure everything was gonna work out. She figured it all out, figured the area out. And the same thing with her. When she was there, they never bothered her. They never asked her anything. They never asked for money. And to this day, we'd go by when we leave church. Our church is by their house. Well, it was. Their house burned down right before we left, which is sad. We used to drive by and bring the kids by. You know, they go by and let the kids play and hang out, and then we go home. So to this
good
day,
people, huh?
Oh, the most generous man in America. I say it today, I've never met a man like everybody. The Russians is the beat. Tamor Valid, Chris Lagori, and Antoine Giaquani. It's been what? Justin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Ortiz, Michael Chandler, everybody, and they all then stayed in Jerry's house, and they all get the same treatment. You come in, any room that's open is yours. That Mustang is out there. Something go wrong with your car, the keys is in it. Take it. You're more than welcome to anything here. It's the same treatment for everybody. He does a lobster broil every year, and he puts signs around the town that says everyone is invited. Strangers are just friends we haven't met. He has crates and crates and crates of lobsters delivered, and his whole street is usually packed with cars, people you've never seen in your life. They just seen the sign downtown. They come over, give them a plate, they eat, and they leave. He says nothing about it. How many you want? You want 1 or 2? You want a hot dog or something else with it? They eat and they leave. He has no problem. Never had anybody break into his house. Nobody ever stole from him, because everybody knows Jerry is just that guy.
He's a guy that if he ever ran for political office, it'd be like a 99%. He's one of those guys.
He's that guy, like Jerry.
Yeah.
He said it. I was the only person after my fight, before I got in the interview, I just said, I want to give a thank you to Jerry Knapp, because if it wasn't with him, this camp wouldn't have been that easy. He let me stay in his attic for his whole camp and never bothered me once. And I remember calling me, I was like, I've never cried at a fight, but I cried like a baby up in that crowd, because nobody ever gave me recognition for what I've done for their career. And you actually made it live on TV and made sure everybody knew that if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have made it. And I mean, that's just It wasn't like I was doing it to get any clout. Like, I was just thankful because it wasn't him. That outcome wouldn't have happened for that fight.
Yeah, it was really nice. He did it against Justin Jones. Justin Jones comes in. It's his first UFC fight. He's a debuter for the UFC. He's working out with Dean Lister. Comes with Dean's seal of approval. Everyone's talking about how hot he is. He's got Iridium management. And it's like, this is supposed to be the next big thing. Did you have any concerns going into that bout?
Again, I didn't know who he was. I knew nothing about him. It was just another guy to me. You know what I mean? Only thing I saw the one thing I remember when we was walking to weigh, he had his fight shorts, and he had some boxing gym camp on his shorts. And my thing is, I do research on everybody I fight. I dig in, like you dig this for this interview. When we get to the fight, I'll know what you're gonna do before you do it. Like, I study film, and there was no film on it, so nothing to find. He had like 4 or 5 fights, but it was all quick. And I seen the boxing patch on his shorts, and I googled that, and they had him listed on there. And that night, I remember before the fight, that's when I finally got to see film on him. I went to that boxing gym, and they had highlights of him, and some led me to another one where I saw his 2 quick finishes with chokes and whatnot. But other than that, there was nothing else to know other than that boxing program. So it was nothing to fear. For me, it was the unknown. I know nothing about this guy. He's just a nobody, just like I'm a nobody, but I'm going to be the body everybody remembers when the night is over.
He was a hell of a nail.
Yeah.
That dude, he took a pounding, man.
Yeah, that was a fun one, too. I remember that's when I love the game again now, but at that time, that's when it was like, yo, I'm just enjoying it. I was having a blast. And I remember him hitting me once with like a big old hook, and it hurt. And I was like, holy shit, let me back up a little bit. Let me get some space. God, now I started to have fun. I remember that was the first time I landed an elbow in the fight. Me and my buddy, my best friend, Frankie Edgar, had practiced this drill called Slow Glow. Slow Glow. Well, if you've seen Coming to America, the Slow Glow with the hair grease and all that. Well, when they all flick their hair back, he was like, I want to throw your elbow like this, like flick your head, like rub your head, like you ripped the Slow Glow out your hair or something. I remember him in the corner. He said, Slow Glow, Slow Glow. And the first time I went, I did a little jump in Superman elbow that landed. I was like, yo, that was dope. But I did that, my first Superman punch, my first liver kick. And I just had fun because I just went after a lot of new things in that fight because I just was careless because I didn't know this guy, thought he couldn't do nothing to me. So it's like, I'm just going to try everything I ever tried in practice on this fight. And I did just about that.
Put it together. April 18th, 2015, UFC's on Flax. You got a fight of the night bonus against Gian Villante. Gian Villante, 12-5 out of Fillmore Kickboxing Academy. Mark Henry isn't real happy with you in between rounds at this fight. What was going on?
It wasn't that he wasn't real happy with me. People don't understand. My teeth was crushed out in that fight.
What's that?
I had my teeth crushed out in the first 45 seconds of that fight.
Your teeth?
If you look here, I got a scar. You see that scar?
Yeah.
I'm shot in the first shot I take. If you go back and watch, it's like 47-second mark. I take a shot, and you see me bounce up. I shoot. He throw a front kick. I hit his knee. When I hit his knee, my teeth, the 4 right here, crushed out and go to the back of my mouth. So in the corner, Mark is like, yo, why are you talking like that? Why can't I hear you? And I'm like, oh, my teeth hurt now. And I take my tongue and I pull my teeth out to the front of my tongue. My teeth are in the back of my mouth. Like, my teeth are crushed in, coach. And he was just looking at me like, okay. Well, anyway, so you the whole time, every time,
never mind that.
He's like, you sure you don't want to stop this fight? Like, coach, I ain't stopping shit. Like, are you sure you want to keep going? Like, yeah, we're going to keep going. And everybody's like, yo, how your teeth got? I'm like, I'm good, coach. I remember the ref coming, I'm like, yo, where's that blood coming from? And every time I was holding my teeth up with my tongue. And you talking about pain. Like, I'm trying not to wince. I'm like nothing, it's my mouth bleeding. I'm like holding my teeth in place so you don't see like they're missing. And you talking about excruciating pain every time I got hit. But the one thing he wasn't happy about for that fight is all camp. He told me the only way this kid can beat you is an overhand right. Sometimes you get lazy, you throw your hook and you bring your hand back down. Throw your hook and you bring it back. Throw your hook and bring it back. Because if the only way he's going to catch you is the overhand right, with 54 seconds left, I throw my hook and he throws the overhand right and I bring my hand here instead of bringing it out like he said, he catches it. And that was the only thing he was very upset about. And I remember when I came to in the back, like I started remembering stuff. He was like, bro, I remember the one thing I said is, bring your hand back. Only way the kid could beat you is an overhand right. I saw the scorecard. She was up on all 3 scorecards. You let the overhand right hit you, Cory, like, overhand right is all I told you. And if you look back at to this day, you ask Mark, all 5 of my losses, he predicted the way I was, like, he said, well, not just with all my fights, he said, only way you can lose this guy is this. With the 5 fights I lost, he said it exactly. Each one, only way you can lose this fight, Jimmy, man, only way you can lose this fight is when you start circling against the cage, he's going to throw a hook. You either dip, you shoot, or you keep your hand up and go through it. Do not reach. Do not reach. You got to have the reach on God's fake, and you leave the temple open every time. Jimmy fake, I did this. Lights out. OSP. Only way this guy can beat you is that left high kick. That left high kick. When you stay in the middle, if you're going to slip, slip left. He's southpaw. You slip right a lot. Slip left. Do not slip right. 3rd round, going into that fight, going back in, like, yo, kill this guy. Stay to the outside. You don't have to do nothing. Just dance around the outside. Remember, do not go right. I remember right before when he saw it coming, like, don't. And that's all I remember. I hear say, don't go right. He seen the way I was like, don't. And I was lights out. And I came, she was like, bro, I told you don't go right. In the last fight with Gian, my last fight in the UFC, he's like, only way this guy can beat you, you try to stay standing with him, he throws a big right hand. He's going to load up that Polish power right hand. You just got to go out there and wrestle him. Don't even try to strike with him. And I didn't even listen. I went out there and just tried to strike with him, and it cost me. So it is what it is. Mark is like a scientist like that, but it is what it is now.
Did you break your hand in that fight? Because there's a few times where you connected, where you actually slapped him instead of keeping your hand closed.
Which fight?
With Gian.
Oh, no. I don't think I broke my hand. I've never broke.
Yeah, you slapped him a couple times.
Oh, no. That's just because that's how Mark throws. It's a code Mark does, where we throw away a hook and slap. Slap him with the hook. You don't hit him here. It's fast if I just keep overhand. If I try to ball up the fist, he always says, when you make your fist sometimes, it make you tense up. But you just slap, it's kind of like open hand. Flick it out there. So I would slap the hook and throw the right hand. So that's the thing Mark shows me all the time. Slap the hook. So most people, when you think slap, they think like they're slapping here. But no, Mark actually wants you like slap him open hand, slap him in the face, and then hit him with the right hand.
Okay. Yeah, I thought there were some issues. Your bounce back fight, Chris, you always try to think of the fighter's best interests whenever after a loss, especially something you were in a fight that you were winning. Jan Blachowicz, future UFC world champion, is your bounce back fight. Is this a Joe Silva special? Is this him trying to be, maybe not a nice guy?
I guess they called me and was like, yo, who was he supposed to fight? He was supposed to fight Anthony Johnson. And then, no. Something happened. He was supposed to fight somebody. They wanted him to fight Anthony Johnson. Anthony was on that same card. They're like, no, Anthony fight Jimi Manuwa. And somehow my name got thrown in there to fight Gian. He was ranked 12th, and I just came off of getting knocked out. And on short notice, and I was like, okay, I'll do it.
Short notice. Wait, hold up, Cory. Short notice. Go ahead. How did you beat him?
I went out there and dominated him with wrestling, baby. Just took him down and ground.
Cardio.
That too. Cardio and wrestling. Gassed him out in the first round, and that was it.
I have a question for you. How was your relationship with Joe Silva? I mean, did you get a lot? We have a lot of people having bad stories about it. How was your relationship?
I mean, we didn't have a relationship. Only thing I heard from, I've talked to him twice. Once was at the UFC summit, he came up to us, me and my boy Frankie. He was cracking these jokes about how he went, and started laughing. You know, people do that little fake ha 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 laugh just to keep entertained. Well, I'm a real ass dude. Like, if it ain't funny, I ain't gonna laugh. So he said, I'm just like, you looking like, yeah, hey, lighten up, eh? I was like, what you mean? Like, I'm cool. He's like, crack a smile. Like, ain't nothing funny to smile about. Like, and he leave. He called my manager. My manager, Ali, called him like, yo, bro, what did you just do? And what are you talking about? Like, Joe Silva just called me and said, you a fucking dick. Like, I didn't laugh at his joke. I'm sorry. Like, am I supposed to laugh? Like, bro, you gotta fit in with these guys. Like, that's the thing. I don't care to fit in. Like, I'm gonna be me. Like, I'm not gonna fake something to kick it with somebody. And then the only other time I talked to him after that was and through email, because everybody get those out of pocket bonuses they talk about, whatever. Well, again, it was a short notice fight. I fought Fabio Maldonado, who was number 12 again, on short week notice, on a week and a half notice in Brazil. I go out there, I beat him by domination, wrestle him. unanimous decision, 10-8, 10-8, 10-9, and everybody getting these bonuses. And I'm like talking for like, yo, I got my bonus. You get your bonus? Like, no, I never got a bonus. So I hit him up like, yo, am I getting a bonus now for that fight? He's like, nah, that was a boring ass fight. I don't give bonuses for boring fights. And that was it. I didn't say shit else to him. Never had a conversation with him other than that.
Chris, 30-25 on 2 different judges' cards on a last-minute fight. There's no way you can predict. Oh, there's no way his cardio is through the roof. We just got to weather the storm a little bit. Maybe make him, shoot his wad in the first, round. I'd never seen anything like that in my life, man.
It is what it is. I mean, I'm a cardio machine. I train year round. There is no off season. You know what I mean? That's just the thing. Everybody want to take vacations after a fight. I ain't got no vacation to take.
You see, Cory, I agree with you, man. One thing, like a lot of people, they say when they have a fight camp, it's like a 10-week camp. I'm like, man, if you're in shape, I don't see how you do a 10-week camp. Like if you're training all the time and they call you and tell you got to fight, I'm like, man, I like a 6-week camp is all I could do. If I like my coaches wouldn't let me do it like a 7 or 8 week camp because I might get hurt because I'm overtraining then. So if you in shape all the time, I think it's hard to do a long ass camp. If you in shape, you don't need to do a long ass camp.
Yeah, I mean, I always say I do like 10-week camps, but really I'm camp year round. Only thing I do for 10 weeks is I start getting guys that implement what my opponent gonna do. For those 10 weeks, everybody I bring in, I have you guys like, all right, just do it. He gonna throw a kick. He's gonna do the submission. 10 weeks of just working out. But other than that, I'm training year round. I'm taking care of my body. I'm doing physical therapy, chiropractic, ART, cryo, all the stuff daily to keep my body in check. Like I'm in camp every day.
How was the Brazil experience? And because Maldonado's a good nail too. We were talking. Mike mentioned Justin Jones was a good nail. I mean, Maldonado's like maybe the all-time nail.
Well, here, let me paint the table on that. I just set the table on it, Miguel. So November 2nd, 2015, UFC Fight Night. Tom Lawlor falls off the card, and at 22-8, Fabio Maldonado needs a fill-in. This gentleman fills it in like less than a week.
Who didn't have a passport at the time either. I was like, they called me. My man's like, yo, you want the fight? I'm like, yeah. And all right, so the UFC started emailing me. The fight is 5 days away. This is Monday. So I got to be out there in a day or two. They're like, yo, can you send us your passport and stuff? We got to get you on the flight. Like a passport. Like, again, I didn't ask any questions. I just said, yeah. I didn't know where the fight was at. It's like, yeah, the fight is in Brazil. Like, I've never been out of the country. Like, how do you get out of the country? Like, you have to have a passport. Like, you don't have a passport? Like, no. Like, you already signed a bout agreement. You don't have a passport? Like, no. Like, you need to go to the Philadelphia embassy right now, take this paperwork, go across the street, get something to eat, and come back in like 45 minutes. And I did exactly that. Went there. They had this line for Express. I went in like, yo, I'm supposed to give you all this. Like, come back in 45 minutes. Went across, grabbed a burger, came back. I had a passport. Went home, packed my bags, went back to Philly, jumped on a plane. I was in Brazil. Next thing you know, it was put my two together, got my best friend and 2 of the coaches, and we went out there and did our thing. Like he said, Miguel asked, what was my experience? Paint that picture. That was the first time I heard that. You holla, or whatever they say. In the stadium, it was a small stadium. I remember being hot as balls. And when they announced the next fight coming up, the Brazil versus American, all night you hear it. But right now I'm in a tunnel with the curtain. And I happened just to peek outside the curtain just to see the crowd. And one of the Brazilian friends saw me. I seen them point. And they all start that chant. They start stomping. So the whole arena just starts to shake. And I'm sitting down in the tunnel looking at my boy like, yo, what are they saying? One of our coaches, Mark Henry, he coaches Edson and all those guys. He's like, bro, it means Ricardo Almeida, because that's what he said. He said, it means you're gonna die. Like, what the fuck do you mean you're gonna die? Like, wait, hold on, wait, what? Like, is the opponent gonna kill me? If I win, the fans gonna kill me. Because don't worry about it. This is how we intimidate people. Go out there and do what you do. Like, hold on, somebody tell me I'm gonna die. I gotta ask questions. Like, I need to know. So I remember just going out there and just wrestling. This guy has a Brazilian boxer. Mark Henry said, how many Brazilian boxing champs do you know? He's, 29-1 with 28 knockouts or something. Like, how many Brazilian champs you know in the world? Like, think about that. Go out there and just wrestle. Don't worry about it. I just wrestled 3 rounds and beat the crap out of it. But after, the fans loved me at the hotel. They came and drank beer with us in the hotel, so they didn't want to kill me after that. So I was okay.
That's good. That's good.
Did you have an issue, part of that, with your teammate John Villante?
Well, who?
John Villante. Did he break your teeth?
when he broke in the fight with him. Yeah, that was a fight. That was
Gian Villante. I
fight.
apologize.
Gian.
So were they healed? Because this is you talk about your teeth being broken
They
2 fights ago.
They came
Were
out
they still
again.
bothering you?
They came out again in the Gian fight. So what they did, they gave me root canals and they braced them across the front and across the back. Well, in training, somehow the stuff that they had it braced in the front, the putty, whatever, started chipping. So I would drive and I'd be picking at it, and I ended up breaking the whole front. The thing that braced in the front, like the whole thing came off. Like, fuck. Well, this is in the back still in the back. When the first takedown with Gian, he throws an uppercut, catches it, and it cracks the back of brace, and it breaks out. To be honest, I really just got the stuff off the back of the teeth after the Bader fight. I went to the dentist and told him, like, I never got that stuff taken off. Like, are my teeth healed enough yet? It was been healed for years. You can definitely get it off now. But, like, I just ended up getting a custom mouth guard that I still use this day. I had a two-sided one. I had this one that I told the guy, I want one of them old-school boxing mouth guards, super thick. Leave the top professionally molded to my teeth, and the bottom, let me boil to bite it just to get deep all the way down to my gums so my teeth don't move anymore. So to this day, I just still use that same mouthpiece.
Wow. With Tom Lawlor, like Chris, as you know, there's not a lot of experience. Like he's fighting a lot of high experienced guys, but like he's only had one issue, which ended up in a loss, but you never really kind of got to see somebody weather the storm. That opening exchange with Tom Lawlor told you everything you need to know about Corey Anderson.
Ooh, had me on stanky legs early, boy. I remember that fight. The only reason I remember, because I remember when he hit me with that shovel hook, the little check hook, he caught me over the top with, and I remember being wobble. And for 1 second, I look up and I see the clock, and it's like 4 minutes and 30 seconds left. And the only thought that came to my mind, is like, I am not getting knocked out in the first minute. So I get a break and I'm watching the clock. And I see, all right, now it's a minute. If I got knocked out now, it's okay. But I don't know why I'm thinking that, but I let him go. And Mark was just like, and it's crazy, Mark, we worked this code called spot for a guy who always slips to one spot. If he always slips into the one spot, throw the spot, hit his shoulder. That's a spot. That's where his head going. Spot. Well, for some reason, Tom, he wasn't slipping, but the way he was moving, he would always like do a tick-tock movement. And Mark would say, watch the spot. And every time I hit, I started throwing the right hand. I kept catching it, pushing him back. And that's what saved me, because I was hurt for the whole first round. And I heard Mark say, spot. And I kept, every time he would come, I throw the right hand. And it would hit him and push him back. I just kept throwing the right hand, just the right hand. I remember in between the round, I'm like, how you feel? Like, I'm good now, but I was hurting. He's like, all right, remember, we go spot, inside leg kick. Because he's southpaw now. So it's going to be your right leg. Just throw the answer. Just keep throwing that right leg kick in the right hand. That's it. That's all I want you to do until you get a chance to shoot. And that's all I did. I remember that inside leg kick in the spot. Inside leg kick in the spot. And that's what saved me that fight until he got tired and I was able to take him down. But yeah, he definitely, like you said, he came out hit me with that hook. That was almost lights out for me. I remember I was like, oh shit. I ain't never felt like this before. Like, I feel drunk, high, and on a roller coaster at the same time. But we survived, and we prevailed.
Your trip back to Brazil, UFC 198, May 14, 2016, Mauricio Hua. Man, I don't want to say it, but you had it, Cory.
I was cheated on that one.
I think so, too. I think so, but... Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna go right to the end, to the airport on the way home. I remember it was Big Dan Margata, Mike Beltran, and I can't remember the other thing. He's a ref, but he was a judge that night. And I remember those guys in the airport like, yo, I still to this day, to this moment, I don't understand how Cory loses that fight. Look at the punch count. Like I outpunched him like 97 strikes. I took him down 8 times. I think the punch count was like 112 to like 20 something like that. I took him down 8 times. He dropped me once and he caught my kick the other time and I fell down. And I remember when they was talking about it, I know where the ref that was the judge that night, he was sitting in the airport with his head down, like, listen to him talk. I know where you hear it was me. But it was an American judge. But everybody like, gotta be those Brazilian judges and stuff. The Brazilians, we can't trust these Brazilians no more. And he goes, it was me. And everybody like, what? And he says, it was me. Like, what do you mean it was you? Like, I was the judge that scored it 10-8 to Shogun. They're like, how the fuck do you see 10-8? Like, what do you see 10-8 at? Like, how is it 10-8 any round? He was like, well, from my angle, let me explain, guys. I was sitting behind Cory. So when he fell the second time, it looked like he got dropped again. So I marked it 10-8 like he got knocked down twice. I didn't know it was a kick. And I'm not going to judge ever again. I promise. I'm not judging anymore. And I remember Mark Henry, that whole ride, 12 hours back. He's sitting in the seat right in front of me, like on the plane. I got my head on the back of the seat. I'm just thinking about it, like, yo, I can't believe they screwed me in this fight. And Mark keeps saying, I'm like, bro, like in my heart, like we got backstab, but in the heart by the American judge. Can you believe it? Like just put it there and twist the dagger. I'm like, coach, just chill, bro. Like stop. I don't want to think about it no more. And the whole way home, he just talked about the car ride. I remember I got home and I didn't cry after that fight. I remember walking in my room, I dropped my bag, I started to shed a tear. For some reason, I wipe it. I grab my book bag. I jump in my car and I drive 14 hours home. I haven't slept in 3. I just can't get it out of my head. And I just had to hit the open road just to clear my head of how I got screwed in this fight.
Well,
at the time, day mode.
Let me kind of bring everybody what happened. Cory is dominant. Like the punch count's so lopsided, and there's no mistaking who was winning the fight. But in the last 10 seconds of rounds 1 and 2, Cory gets dropped in round 1, like ugly dropped in round 1, 10 seconds left. Round 2, it's like it looks like he gets knocked down, but it's like something with a kick and maybe he's a little off balance. But every other second of that round, other than like 20 seconds, you didn't lose a second of that fight.
Yeah. I remember I did an interview and said, I feel like the judges in Brazil, like the judges and the politics and stuff in Brazil, I feel like they kind of screwed me out of it. And I said something, and it was an article that was made in Brazil, or I guess Brazilians wanted to sue me for slander or something against the commission or something. Ariel Helwani had sent it to me like, yo, what's this about? I said to Ali, like, don't worry about it. Like, it's just something they're trying to get started. It's not going to go forward. Like, what do you mean? And then you see an interview they post. I had the MMA Junkie. But I remember the interview, I said what I said, and then after I also say, but I find out later the judge that scored it was American. But they posted a clip where I said that, and it stopped. I was like, yo, they didn't even get the whole story. And that's when I figured out how media works as well. They post stuff for clickbait. But
Cory,
yeah, that caused the whole review.
Isn't it amazing how, some of these, I don't think anybody who hasn't had fights at the high level can understand like how high these highs can be and low those lows are. Those things that you lose a decision somehow, split decision, they can bother you for months and you can't get rid of that out of your head, man. Hopefully, I know myself, sometimes you can utilize that to motivate you and make you better. You feel like you were able to do that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, after that, it was kind of like, the motivation for that, next time I go into a fight, if I'm not getting the finish, I'm going to make sure there's no way they can judge as anybody else. Like, just make sure if I go out there, we dominate. The plan is to go out there and dominate. I never want to hurt anybody, but I want to do my job better than him to the point where not just the judge can get it wrong, but if we fought again, he would never say, I could beat him the next time. Yeah. And, a little funny story on that, like, the other thing I never mentioned in the media, Gian Blachowicz. People don't notice. I beat Gian Blachowicz that time we fought. So I go to Brooklyn to watch who fought in Brooklyn? But Derek Brunson, when he fought Anderson Silva. I remember this moment because before or after that fight, me and my wife was getting ready to leave. And I hear a voice running out, Cory, stop real quick. Cory, stop. I turn around, it's Gian Blachowicz. He comes to me and said, I just want you to know you were the worst fight I ever had. And to this day, I have nightmares. And I never want to fight you ever again. And my wife was like that. She looked at me like, did he really just tell you that? And it's fun. When we fought the second time, I didn't even bring it up because like I can't be the one to throw dirt and bring that stuff. I just didn't even do it. But and that in my head, I know in that fight, he was scared of getting taken down again. And I should have just
made him better. You made him better. You made him a world champion. Yeah. Leaving that fight, there's no way he could have looked himself in the mirror probably for the next 3-4 months, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember he made a post and somebody sent it to me. It was him sitting in the airport with his head all knotted up, and it translated to I have to I got to go home and rethink my life. Is when I hit the translate on what it was. Because it was just that bad of beating by a guy on short notice. He just got dominated on. And it was yeah. Well, let's keep moving forward. Let's go. Where we at?
All right, my fault, man. All right. Talk about that. So, Mauricio, who you got screwed. You lose 20 seconds of the fight, and they give the entire thing to him. Sean O'Connell is a bounce-back fight. But the big story here, you go from 25-8 Corey Anderson to overtime.
Yeah, man. That's when they came out with the top, what was it? The top 10 worst nicknames in sports history, and I was number 2.
24/7. He was 25-8.
25-8 was number 2 on the list, and then another list came out, the top 10 worst MMA nicknames. I was number 1. I remember Mark Henry was like, "Bro, we can't have it. No, you got to change the name. Like, we can't. No more. It's too long. I don't like it no more. We changed it." And this is when Eddie Alvarez getting ready to fight Conor McGregor, and the media's there with him, and he was like, "Yo, how about time and a half? Because you always in here working out more than everybody else. That's way too long." And Frankie stood up and was like, "Overtime. Time and a half is overtime. That's the same thing. You can show."
That's a union guy talking.
Yeah, like we can show it up to OT. Like, that's it. That's my new name, overtime. And we kept it a secret all the way into the fight. I'm like, "Yo, what's your new nickname?" Like, "I'm not telling y'all until I walk out because I don't want nobody to leak it."
So with Sean O'Connell and Jeremy Horns in this corner, obviously an excellent bout for yourself. You also called out Nikita Kryloc after that bout.
Mm-hmm.
What was the meaning behind that?
I wanted to
it
fight.
Never took place.
And I knew he had passed me in the rankings, so fighting nobodies. He had a bunch of finishes against unranked guys, and they put him in front of me. And I was like, you know what? Forget that. Like, I want my spot. I want what I deserve. Like, I'm out here beating top guys. If you go through all the people I fought, everybody I fought since my second fight has been ranked in the top 15, except for Sean O'Connell. You know, like, he's fighting unranked guys and getting ranked above me. Like, I want to fight him and take his spot. But he went out there and he lost to Misha Kirshner the next night. So we fought Friday and they fought Saturday in Canada. And he got choked out.
Corey, do you feel like you've had to go a tougher route sometimes because of stuff like Joe Silva being like, "Yeah, you took him down a bunch. It was boring." So, you know, when he says stuff like that, you know he's not pushing you for stuff. You know that. You feel like you've had to go a tougher route because of stuff like that?
100%. I know I took a tougher route, you know, because the gimmick. And when we get later in this history, we'll bring this up again, where I know 100% why they gave me that tougher route. They told me to my face, but it was just, I wasn't a marketable guy, you know. Just like now, I sit back, I don't do media. It's like you sitting me now. I'm like in my whatever room. I don't give a damn. I don't care about flashing this. I don't care about. I got a nice car, but I don't gotta walk around and drive a nice car with jewelry all the time, flashy. I don't have a cameraman with me. I post stuff from my phone. I don't care about algorithm and all that. I ain't got no media team. I'm just me, and they don't want that. They want people that's gonna sell and make a business out of it.
That's been a problem. I know what you mean, man. Go ahead, Miguel.
I'm sorry, because at this point, are you still on that original TUF deal? Because everybody always talks about how lousy that TUF deal is, you know. And now they took a bonus away from you. Now you took a loss, so now if you're making like 15 and 15, you got only 15. That almost hurts more than like the personal side, the insult, no?
Yeah, I got out of the TUF deal after the Tom Lawlor fight, actually. But even still, we didn't get up to no big payment. You know, and that's the thing. We'll talk about that again about how I got to Bellator. We'll bring all of that. But I never really got a big deal. Like, people like, "Oh, you in UFC making money." I never got that. And like, we'll talk about this when we get down. It's just, it all falls into my story.
March 18, 2017, you fight UFC Fight Night main event in London against Jimi Manuwa, who's a friggin' savage.
Like I said, Mark Henry told me, don't put your hands out. One way he can beat you, put your hands out. Don't put your hands out when he fake. And I did it. And there ain't much about that fight to talk about. It was what, a minute and some seconds? So can't go into that too much detail.
He goes to All-Star Training Center. Gian is obviously there. I mean, so you are very well scouted by that gym at this point. There's a big size difference. Was it jet lag bothering you too?
No, I mean, at that time, I used to walk around. Up until then, I walked around at 212. I never got heavier than that. And there was a reason. Like, every night, I would make sure if I was heavier than 212, I would get up and run until I make 212. But as long as I don't run until I got down to weight. And I didn't understand how weight cut worked at the time, but my mindset was if I'm always at 212, I can take a fight at any given time and make weight. I never knew about you're supposed to water load and do all this stuff and get big. I had never broke 219 up until that point, like outside of a fight. So, and I remember Jimmy, that was probably the best thing that came from that fight. Jimi Manuwa came to me in the back and like, bro, I was so scared to fight because of your takedowns. But once we got in the cage, I saw how small you were. I knew there was nothing you could do about taking me down. You're just too small to take me down. You can be a great fighter, bro. You just got to put size on. That's the only thing I'm going to tell you. Everything about you is good and dangerous. You have to put size on. And my brother, he had a contract to play pro ball. He been to the combines, all that. And we got home, I flew him out. And he stayed with me for a month. And he taught me everything I need to know about lifting and putting on weight. And then I got a dietitian about how to cut weight and water load. And I went to the PI and they taught me. And after that, it was just a different Cory. I came back just built different.
Hey, Chris is a heavyweight. This guy's never had to cut weight before. So you can say, well, you're a wrestler. What do you mean you know how to cut weight? A heavyweight.
Exactly.
I want to ask you, you mentioned against Rua, you were kind of a little bit intimidated by the Brazilian crowd. Those British crowds could be pretty ugly too. How was your British experience?
I mean, to be honest, Britain, I knew everybody was against me. Again, I knew I was an underdog, so I expected it. But I feel like it wasn't nearly as bad as Brazil. The Shogun Rua Brazil, that was probably the most disgusting and scary walkout I ever had. Let's put it this way. My coach, Ricardo Almeida, is from Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. As we walked out, him and Mark Henry both got punched in the head. They grabbed their hoods and snatched them back. He said, bro, I got called some things I never heard anybody get called. They were swinging at people on the way out, and the way they did it, like to sell as many seats as they can, usually the walkout when you walk out is so wide where I got 80-inch reach. I can put my hands out, and I can't even reach everybody. Well, this one, we walked out, it was like, we was like scooting down this little aisle like this, so we getting hit, and you got people covering me to keep them getting covered. As my coaches and stuff, hold on, my light just died out. But my coaches and stuff is getting hit, they getting grabbed, they getting bottles and stuff thrown at them. So that, like I said, that was probably the scariest walkout ever because you thinking like, yo, even if I win, I gotta walk back through this crowd to get to the locker room. Am I gonna make it? And it was hot. It was probably 100-something degrees out. So as soon as we walk out, I'm already sweating, like pouring sweat. It was just, that was not a fun experience all around.
Now, Miguel, you know those crowds in Brazil, riots having people get stabbed. You don't see that happen in London too much. I mean, they might say something, but there's not riots happening afterwards.
I just think that the British fans are like, you know, you take into account like they're soccer hooligan fans and stuff, and they'll throw down. The British fans are not shy about letting you know who they want to fight. That's all I'm saying. It's different, but I guess the language.
I think the biggest thing is Brazil.
Your ass kicked.
In Brazil, a lot of those fans are poor, so they looking for a reason to riot and rock. So as for Britain, most of those people were very wealthy. They just drunk and rowdy. As for Brazil, they weren't even drunk. They just broke. They're looking for a reason to start a fight and get some stuff.
So Cory, in essence, Brazil, they're chanting "You're gonna die." In London, they're swinging "Sweet Caroline." Yeah. So they can all do the chorus together. Okay.
Yeah, they all hearing they guy on super hard. They booing me, of course, but it's not like nothing like this.
All right, talk about locker room bonuses. Patrick Cummins gets a staph infection. They need a last-minute replacement for Ovince St Pruex. This gentleman steps up again. Is this the third last-minute for Joe Silva?
No, this is actually the opposite. I was supposed to fight Pat. Pat got stabbed, and OSP stepped in for Pat.
Chris,
come on,
this
Mike.
is your fault.
You're better than that, Mike.
This is your fault, Chris. Chris, you've been absent for a couple podcasts. This is your fault. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
Hey, funny story on that, too. I just did an event 3 weeks ago in Wyoming at 6 Hour Hunter Games, and one of the girl celebrity guests out there, it was actually Pat Cummins' girlfriend at the time. And she comes up and tells me, like, I think you know my boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend, Pat Cummins. And I was the reason you had to pull out of your fight. Like, what? Like, remember he had a staph infection? Well, she had did Naked and Afraid. And she got a staph infection when she was on the show. When she came home, she gave it to Pat. And he had to pull out the fight. She told me that. She was like, she didn't even make eye contact for a while. Like, you fucking kidding me? So the reason I got head kick knocked out was your fault. But that was funny. It's crazy. Like, what, 5 years later, the girl that gave him the infection, we do an event together, she comes up and tells me.
That's funny.
Cool, though.
That is good.
There was a big size difference between the two of you as well, so you weren't really putting the weight on yet. I mean, it was huge.
To be honest, we weighed the same. He just carried it different. And we both weighed 222. And he just carried it different to me. He just was a thick guy. We had trained together, strength and conditioning, training, like 2 fights prior to that. And we weighed, both was 230. He was 236, I was 235. And even they said it there, like, he's just, his build, because he was a football player, and I was built like a wrestler. Like, he just looked like he was so much bigger all the time. I just looked like I was always cut up, like I was dehydrated. And he was explosive, but again, I always had cardio. So we knew that was going to be a thing going in there. And like I said, he looked way bigger than me, but we got on the scale before. And after we went and got drinks, and I asked him, like, what you weigh? Like 222? Like, I was 222 before we stepped in, too. Like, it's size different. Sometimes it looks that way. I'm
going to try this one more time. One more time, Chris. Patrick Cummins, you don't take a single punch. You get through him. You landed 12 takedowns. ILlir Latifi is injured. You fill in last minute for a Hamburg, Germany fight. Am I right on this one?
That one was you right.
There you go, Mike.
That was another one within 2 weeks. And that one, I was 236 when I took that fight. Smashed. I had just ate, 81 pieces of sushi, a burger, and chugged 2 big old tall boys. And it took the fight probably 5 seconds later. It was crazy.
This is Glover Teixeira, future world champion. Your second that's on your resume. Glover Teixeira, let's keep in mind, he's always known for being a striker, great nail, give one to take one. At this point, he's also got a win over Dean Lister in ADCC. Glover Teixeira is legit.
He was the scary guy in the division for a long time, and he transitioned.
He's the boogeyman.
Like being a really smart fighter too, and a guy with a world of experience. So, this was definitely a feather in your cap. But what was fighting him like? Was he still waiting to improve to be champion, or was he at the top of his game? What do you think?
I think he's at the top of his game. What people didn't know is the reason I took that fight. The day before, I just found out my wife was pregnant with our first child. So in my mind, I was ready to get back in and to prove something. Like, now I got a whole nother reason to live for. Like, I got my first child coming. I'm ready to do it. I'm doing it for him now. And I remember I was out there cornering somebody at PFL. My manager was there. Like I said, I finished eating. I'm drinking. I'm smashing food and drinking beer. Like, I don't care. I'm just having a good time. I hear him on the phone. Like, what you mean, ILlir out? The fight's in 2 weeks. We got to find somebody. I'm sitting there drinking my beer. I'm just like, man, he was like, he keep looking at me. What are you talking? Dude, what? He got a phone. Like, what are you talking about? That's why you eat 2 burgers. You said you ate sushi. You smashing beer. There's no way you're ready for a fight in 2 weeks against Glover. I'm like, yo, give me the fight. I'm ready. Just give me the contract. Like, give me a contract and go. I called Mark Henry. Like, yo, Mark, what y'all think? Like, at this point, I signed a contract. Like, so what you think about if I fought Glover on 2 weeks' notice? Like, bro, you just got knocked out like less than a year ago. I think he's a heavy hitter. I don't think that's a good fight to take on 2 weeks' notice. We need time to train. Like, oh, well, I already signed the contract, so we got to be in Germany like a week. Can you make it? He's like, bro, why you got to discuss that? Like, we're going to follow you anywhere, but why? Like, all right, as long as you're going to be there, I'm talking to you later. Call Ricardo. Same thing. Like, brother, you're a monster, but I don't like that fight. 2 weeks' notice. We got a week to train and we got to leave. I don't like that. Like, I already took the fight, so you coming tonight? I got on the phone with him. And the other one was Nikita, and I remember Nick couldn't make it. He was having his baby that week or something. Like, I don't think I can make it if she's due, blah, blah. I remember telling my wife, she was the GM at Nikita's gym. He was like, bro, I don't like this fight. Cory, like 2 weeks notice, this and this. And they just all thought on 2 weeks notice, like, it was going to be tough because my game plan is wrestling. He's a super good jiu-jitsu guy. And like I said, I told him, like, this guy can't hold water to me. Coach, trust me. I'm going to go out here and show y'all what I can do. I'm going to dominate this guy on 2 week notice. the worst weight cut in my life. I didn't think we was gonna make weight, and I still went out there and did what I did.
Nice.
You were ending your combinations with an uppercut, which gave him fits throughout the entire fight.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see something on film?
Yeah, like I said, I study film, so I know what you're gonna do before you do it. And if you go back to the fight with Alexander Gustafsson, every time Gustafsson hit him clean was an uppercut. And the reason why, because lower again, he does what Mike Tyson talk about. I fight like Mike Tyson. He does this, and this, and we throw a punch, he dips down to come up with something. So every time I know if I threw a combo, he slipped. If I don't hit him, when he goes to dip before he throw, if I throw an uppercut, he's gonna duck down into it. And every time, like clockwork, boom, finish it uppercut. Because every time I would finish, he would dip like he's gonna throw something, like I uppercut time, or a knee. And that's how this happened. The finger.
Oh shit!
I kept cutting with the uppercut until my tendon ruptured on his chin. But like every time I threw it, it landed, and it just happened to land clean one time. I felt my whole finger just. It felt like something shattered, tendon to rip right when I busted his chin.
Damn. Yeah, it looks like you're throwing gang signs, bro. You gotta be careful with that. ILlir Latifi, All-Star Training Center, your third opponent from that gym. Do you think they're asking for you?
No, that was another one. It was so the way that happened, because ILlir was supposed to fight Glover, and when I signed that fight, they accidentally sent me his contract and just changed the number. And I seen in there, like, if he was to win, he would get the next title shot. Whoever won that was going for the title next. So I started making a fit about it. Like, well, if he was getting title, I don't want a title now. I just beat number 3. Why not get a title shot?
You should have crossed his name out, wrote yours, and sent it back.
Yeah, I should have, huh? Well, no, they did. They changed my name. They put my name and the number changed, but they left all his details in there because it was so fast. So, like, first-class flights, 3 hotel rooms for the coaches and stuff, all that. I'm like, yeah, like, I'm loving this. But the next contract they sent, all that was gone. Like, no. This contract I signed for my next 3 fights, it says this, because it's a whole new contract with new numbers. So they had to honor that. But they told me, well, that wasn't technically your deal. That was ILlir's deal. We've got to change. Like, that's not my fault. Like, this is what I signed. I want the same thing. But so I made this whole fit. Like, yo, he was going to win. Why can't I get? Like, well, since he was right there next to it, if you beat ILlir Latifi, well, let's make you fight ILlir Latifi. It'll be a title. And we both was managed by Ali. And Ali was like, only way they fight is if the winner gets the title shot. That's the only way I'm doing it. That's what I like to tell me. The only way I'm letting you guys fight is a title shot. So we do it, I'll win, and you can tell what happened next. I didn't fight for the title.
You got 11 months off after this.
Yay, yikes. I got a quick question though. Like, all right, so they sent you the wrong contract, and you can, but you went to Brazil to fight a main event against the Brazilian. You went to England to fight a main event against a British guy. Now you're in Europe fighting a main event against a European guy. It's like people ask for more money just for that. It's like, are you trying to negotiate? Or because if not, then why are they treating you that way is the question. You know what I mean?
Like I said, we're going to get there. The story going.
Almost there.
Hey,
Cory, this is how you build suspense. These guys, they're amateurs, man. They don't know how this works.
Hey, I know he's the guy at the movie. He's the guy at the movie theater waiting for the ending. Like, yo, what's going to happen? You just got to be patient, bro. Time will tell.
Thank you, Cory Anderson. We got to keep you around. Maybe for the next interview, too. All right, so you take 11 months off. What's happening in these 11 months that's keeping you from the cage?
We kind of negotiate something. Like I said, we already said, you told me the last 2 fights, if I won, the one contest if I win, he gets a title shot. The next one, if I beat this guy, I get a title shot. Or at least a fight that's going to move me in the right direction. And it was like, yo, like I'm trying to get a title fight, but they're doing everything they can to keep me from getting a title fight or getting a fight that move up. So,
even though it was in the contract, they didn't want to honor it.
Because it wasn't mine. It was, but then, like I said, we're going to get to that in this 11 months.
Here we go.
It'll all come through. So I'm going to talk through it. So we're going through. I'm like, yo, we want this, we want that. And then you see the fight that's going to come, you're going to talk about. It's in the same name they've been giving me since I beat Latifi. This kid just got in the UFC, wasn't even ranked. I'm like, yo, I just beat the number 3, and the number 5. And you want me to go fight a kid unranked instead of
Johnny
fighting
Walker?
Yeah, like that makes no sense. Like I'm not fighting no unranked kid. I know who he was. I'm not fighting an unranked kid. Not doing it. So they kept saying, well, they kept sending me a contract literally every day. I would get a contract from Amy. whatever her name is, with the same name, everything. I would decline. If you remember, you go back and you check the media, they ask, like, is Cory Anundson going to get a title fight or what? And said, no, my people said Cory Anundson dodged 100 fights, turned out 100 fights. Why would he get a title shot? And I go on the media and say, like, it wasn't 100 fights. It was one guy 100 times. That's just like saying with your boys all summer, like, yo, I was smashing mad females all summer, bro, but you hit one girl for all 3 months, and you coming back, you telling a lie on my name. Like, Ali, tell the truth. Who did he send me for 11 months straight? It was one name. It wasn't 100 guys. I'm not fighting an unranked guy. And then that's when Hunter Campbell finally reaches out. Like, I didn't even know Hunter Campbell existed. I go to his office, and I'm sitting there, what is it? This guy walk out, like, how you doing, Cory? I'm Hunter Campbell. I'm actually like one of the top guys, attorney, this, and that. So I want to talk to you about what's going on and why you're not fighting. And like, because it makes no sense. I fight this kid. I'm not getting any more money. The kid's not going to do anything for me. I beat him. I move nowhere. Like, yeah, well, the thing is, he's like the hottest thing we have right now. And if he beats you, we're giving him a title fight. And I said, okay, but if I beat him, what happens next? We can't say. I was like, so I guess I would fight? And like, more than likely not. But if you beat him, we can get some of the attention on you, build your social media, and work yourself to a title fight. Because the way we're in this business to make money. Like, I'll tell you right now, every Tuesday we have a meeting of who are the best fights to make and who can beat who. And we cannot deny that you are next in line and probably the best match for John Jones right now. But the one thing we say is when we check social media, your social media just doesn't click. It doesn't give us enough fire to sell a fight. So we can't give you a title fight until we get your social media. So we feel if you fight Johnny Walker, being the hottest thing it is right now, if you beat him, you get some followers. And if he beats you, he gets a title fight. And either way, it makes him, I'm like, yo, you really telling me this in my face? Like, that's some I'm not here for fame. I'm not here for money. I just want to be the best. Like, unfortunately, Mr. Anderson, this is a business about putting butts in the seats. If you can't do that, we just can't give you the title fight. And I remember leaving that office, and I told Ali, like, you know what? They want me to fight this kid. I'm going to knock this kid the F out in one round. And I'm going to tell them right then, it makes no sense. I met Mick Maynard in Texas. He's like, Cory, I know you don't want this fight, but it's like, it's the only fight we're going to give you. If you keep turning it down, we're going to make you sit for a year. And when you come back, we're still going to make you fight him again. So you might as well take this fight. You have to take this fight or you're just going to be sitting for a while. I said, all right, Mick, it makes no sense. I'm going to take it, but it makes no sense. If you remember, I knocked Johnny Walker out. And I flicked the crowd off and do all that. But the first person I gave the middle finger to was Mick Maynard and all the UFC people sitting cage side and told them, I told y'all it made no sense for me to fight this kid. I told you I would knock him out in one round and nothing's going to happen. And the crowd was booing me because they were cheering for him, a Brazilian, in New York when I trained across the street. So I stood up and flicked on him off. It was pandemonium. It was all bad. But yeah, after that, my social media grew. And they still didn't give you a title fight. It was yeah.
Well, so, you also got fined for pushing a referee afterward. Like, you wanted to murder Johnny Walker. It wasn't just a win.
That was one of the 5 things they fined me for. They fined me for excessive celebration, yelling in my opponent's face, jumping on the cage, flicking off the crowd, and laying hands on the ref. And to be honest, the only thing I do not remember was laying the hands on the ref until like 2 weeks later when I finally watched the fight and saw what everybody was talking about. Everybody was like, yo, that snap down was crazy. Like, what are they talking about? Like, when I pulled his head down, hit him with the uppercuts? My wife was like, no, you pulled the ref down. Like, what? And she showed him, like, you didn't know? I was swinging at John, like, telling him, like, get the on my face. And Kevin McDonald was in between me and him. And I didn't even see him there. So when I went like this, my hand cuffed the back of his head, and it snaps him down to the ground. And instantly, I hit every ref I know to get Kevin McDonald's email contact, and I write him an email, apologize, and let him, I didn't even know I touched you. I completely apologize. He's like, I understand you was in the moment, this and that. And then New York contacted me, and my manager called me, come to find, I guess Kevin McDonald is the one that pressed the fine. He the one that wanted me fined, they said. I was like, yo, like, I was in an emotional space. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like,
so you could ref the rest of the night. he wasn't injured.
But since he asked me to get fined, they had to put all the other stuff on there as well. And they charged me $10,000. It was,
Hey, man, people don't understand when you got that adrenaline going, like you have an interview, you look like you're like out of your body looking at yourself like, who is that talking? You don't remember anything you do. It's let alone I can see pushing somebody down and not even realize that happens, man. You're on a different planet when that adrenaline's going. And I cannot believe they actually try to fine you for getting on top of the cage. Everybody in the world does it every single time they fight. I didn't know anybody could get fined for that. That's real.
Yeah, they find. Like I said, the reason it all started because I touched Kevin McDonald, but since they pressed that, they had to throw everything else in there as well as reasons why the fine was so high. It was crazy.
Damn.
The New Jersey.
And how much money out of your fine? How much money out of your fine does Kevin get?
I have no clue.
Did he get any?
Zero.
I don't know.
Zero.
All I know is the New Jersey commissioner. I knew him well because I cornered the New Jersey fights every other weekend. And he called me. He was like, "Cory, I'm gonna tell you right now. Like, I know they give you the option to fight this, but I've already talked to them. I tried to tell them that was not Cory Anderson. He was on an emotional high. Don't hold it against this kid. But what they said is he's got to pay for what he did. And pretty much what that means is they just trying to get some money out of you, bro. So no matter what you do, if you fight it, if you go to court, you try to fight it at the end of the meeting or whatever, they just going to double up the fine. So just pay that $10,000 and leave it alone." I was like, yeah, but all right.
And Lembo's good dude. Nick Lembo's good people, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to put his name out there because I ain't want them to know, but thanks.
Lembo's good dude.
You just snitched them out, so now they know like he out here snitching on them.
February 15th, you get a rematch against Jan Blachowicz.
Now, don't tell me that this is now finally winner gets a title shot.
Yes.
This is it.
Oh,
This is the fight. The only reason I took it, look, now I said no. I said I deserve a title fight, right? My manager called me and said, "Brother, I'm going to be honest. Like, there's nobody else left. But if you don't take this fight, I'm telling you, they're going to take Jan. They're going to make him fight one more time. If he get another win, they're going to say he has more wins than you, and they're going to make him fight for the title." So,
wait, hold up. Do you think John Jones was also lobbying not to fight you at this point?
I think so.
I mean, they do everything they can to appease him. I don't know where this is coming from.
I knew people from his camp that would let me know why he did not want to fight you, bro. It's like he knows, like he don't want to fight you. That's the one fight he doesn't want to fight is you. He's gonna try to fight everybody. He don't want to fight you. So it is what it is. I don't know if that's something he said or they even just believe it, but that's the things I was hearing through the grapevine.
When Floyd Patterson was the world heavyweight champion, there was a guy named Sonny Liston that was just murking everybody. And Patterson was such a popular guy. He's like, nope, he's too big. He's too big. I'm not doing it. Sonny Liston literally cleaned up the entire division, much like Chuck Liddell did for Tito Ortiz. And then they would just kind of give the scraps to the champ, making him look good. And when you describe it and we run down what's taking place with you, and John Jones was kind of a protected champion. And you are the person that did that for him.
Let's think about this. The thing about the people that got the title fight when I was fighting these top guys, you got Anthony Smith, who fought Shogun Hua on like a 4-fight losing skid. Rashad Evans, his last fight before he lost. And no, for Rashad, my boy. But after that, Rashad retired because he had lost 5 in a row. And I think he beat one other person that had a win, and they gave him a title fight. Then it was that the Silva Marasa kid. Remember, he's fighting Jamil Hill in a couple weeks or whatever. He beat Jan, but other than that, he beat Eric Anderson, 85-pounder, and another 85er, Kevin Holland. He beat Kevin Holland, Eric Anderson. Both of them were 85ers that came up on short notice and met him at heavyweight or 205. Then he beat Jan Blachowicz, and they gave him a title fight. But I beat Glover, ILlir Latifi, Pat Cummins, Johnny Walker, and they keep telling me I don't deserve a title fight. And it's like, I even told them, like, I beat all ranked guys, and every one of these guys beat none of the ranked guys, they get title fights. Like, well, their style's exciting, and they got a good media push. Like, well, you guys pushing them on social media. It's not my fault you don't market me. It was, like you said, protected champ at the time, whatever.
So, Cory, is there any time at this point when you're going, man, I need to fight my contract out and beat and get out of here, man. I need to go to Bellator. I need to go someplace else because these guys are never going to take care of me. Is that ever in your thought process yet?
Well, this started to come after the Gian fight. So after the second Gian fight, not lose where I lose. I ended up in the hospital with health issues and all this other stuff. And at the time, I'm sitting there thinking, I see my son. At the time I have my son come to the hospital and he visit me. I look at my wife and I tell her, I can't keep doing this anymore. She think I mean fighting. I'm talking about, no, I'm not fighting. I can't fight the battle. I'm fighting the promotion. I'm fighting the crowd, trying to freeze the crowd. I'm always trying to like, yo, I beat this guy, I beat that guy. I did this. I deserve this. I should get this. I'm fighting this argument on social media every day. And then I'm fighting my opponent. So I'm fighting 3 people before I even get into the cage. I told her,
that's so intelligent. That's so intelligent.
I told her, I can't do this anymore. She's like, what do you mean? Like, I'm in this position. Like, I mean, like in the hospital bed where I am because of all of this. Like, I'm not happy anymore. Like, I don't love the game anymore. It went from, I tell people all day, to this day, I got a voicemail on my phone of Dana White when I first got in the UFC. But when I started learning the politics and how it worked, and I started saying, I need more money, or like if a short notice fight would come up when I was ranked 10th, he would still call against the guys I'm ranked. Like, you want to fight this guy on 2 notice? They would call me like, nah, I'm cool. I don't need to take that fight. Like, I'm not fighting somebody not ranked. And then that's when everything, and also when Jon Jones failed his drug test, that's when it all really started. Because I had my wife.
He was pulsating, Cory. He was pulsating.
She was 30 months, 30 weeks pregnant. We flew to Vegas together. When I got there, they was like, we need to fly you on another jet to LA for the fight. But we can't fly your wife with you. What do you mean you can't take my wife with me? Like, your wife has to stay in Vegas. Like, fucking crazy. She's 30 weeks pregnant. Where I go, she go. If she ain't going, I ain't fighting. And like, you think we're going to make all this happen because Jon Jones failed another drug test because he cheated? I got to make things up? Like, nah, not happening. I'm going to leave my wife time because of some cheater. And I voiced my opinion to the media. And I'm the only one to voice my opinion to the media. So everybody think it's just me against the UFC, and everybody else like, oh, it's okay. I'm okay with going to California. But behind closed doors, everybody knocking on my hotel room like, yo, we love what you said, but we don't want to get in trouble, so we ain't going to say it. Like, get the fuck away from my door, you know? Like, I don't care if you ain't going to speak. Don't come to me. You want me to say it for you. And that's when everything turned because the UFC thought it was just me. So media come to my door like, yo, you want to do a media? But like, I'm done. I said what I got to say. And ever since then, it was really down because now I'm fighting this battle against Jon Jones. Me and Jon Jones beefing now. I got Dana White and them talking about me. I got the media talking about me because Dana said this. So everybody like, oh, well, Dana said Cory did this, so it has to be true. And now I'm fighting the fans too. So it's
well, Cory, let me kind of put this in perspective for everybody. Jeff Novitzky, head of USADA, works for the UFC. They say, no, they contract USADA. He works for the UFC. He spent 5 years of his life going through Lance Armstrong's garbage after Lance Armstrong finished his final race with Tour de France. Finishes, next 5 years, he's doing garbage collection. And if he found a picogram in that garbage, which he found in the veins of Jon Jones, it would have been a press release and he would have been a national hero in his own eyes. At this point, he works for the UFC. He goes and defends a guy that he knows is using designer steroids. It's not tainted supplements. It's not, no. He worked with the commission in order to kind of alleviate the issues, and he never ratted on a fighter. He ratted on a scientist. That's what happened. I mean, allegedly. I said allegedly at the end.
What you're saying is pretty much true because I know people went inside the UFC when I left. They would call me and tell me everything because I was no longer there. I heard things and they told me it all. Like I said, when I left, everything came clear to what was going on. And it was everything you said, and it's true. So it's like he literally did cheat, but we had to cover it up in order for the fight to go because it was Jon Jones.
All you got to do is read between the lines. Nobody told me this. It's just look at it. That's exactly what happened. Now, man, they pulled off a successful event. They did it. Congratulations.
Yeah, but at what cost, man? I mean, at what cost? Everybody there knows. I mean, if anybody else on any card, except for maybe Conor McGregor, if anybody else did something like that, you're suspended. Not let alone they're not moving the whole damn card to a different state. That's That's the worst thing I've ever seen the UFC did. I mean, I lost a lot for them when they did that. I'm like, man, you would do that for nobody else. And and on everything else, you would think you'd be bending over, kissing people's ass, and be like, hey, your wife flew out here. Let's get them on our private jet and fly them over there. Not saying, well, you got to foot the own bill yourself. You got to pay for your own way out to California. What?
You know how many? You know how many fighters' wives drove like a rental car and drove over there? I was not letting my wife drive. They're like, oh, she can ride with me. Like, no, she can't. She's riding with me on this plane. And I remember when all this happened, like we couldn't wait. Before we leave, we couldn't wait at the PI. So months before this fight, they call and say, yo, you make your schedule now. When you get here, whatever you signed up for is what you got. It's my final weight cut. At this time, I'm walking around like 225, 230 the day before weigh-in. So I'm going to go do my final cut. I'm on my way in an Uber in the UFC PI. They call me like, Mr. Anson, you're on your way? Like, yeah. Like, sorry, you have to turn around and go back. What you mean? Like, this is my set time to work out. Like, you got to cut weight at the hotel. Like, what do you mean? Like, well, John Jones just showed up. He said he wanted the gym shut down for him, so nobody else is allowed in the building. Are you fucking? So one, this guy cheats. So tomorrow morning, we all got to catch a flight out. Now, he didn't even schedule his workout. He just shows up, and I got to possibly miss weight because he's going to close out the win. Like, we're sorry. And this is literally what they said when they hung up. We're sorry, Mr. Anderson, but it's John Jones. They hung up the phone. And that is when I realized, that was the moment I realized that everybody else here is just a number. And unless you making numbers and selling something, you do not have a name to this organization. And that's when I started feuding and I started going to the media. This was the last time I did fight media because everything I was doing was air out all the dirty laundry I knew and all the stuff. I was angry. I had all this pent up energy. That's when I wanted to let out and let everybody know exactly what was going on. And after all that got out, it was like, now I'm at peace. I don't even want to do nothing like this. And this is the first time I've literally, since I've talked about any of that, and I'm only doing it because Chris invited Jimi. He helped. You guys to come on the podcast. If one of my boys want me to jump on, I'm gonna jump on. And this just happened to be the layout of the podcast. So here we are.
Well, let's kind of keep in mind. We appreciate that, Cory, because you are a very private person. TJ Dillashaw trains at Team Alpha Male. Now, this is not me projecting or forecasting. They said publicly, yeah, we've been telling USADA for months that he's been using EPO, except it's not on their panel. They had to call the athletic commission to get the athletic commission to pop TJ Dillashaw. Like, USADA never caught him. And EPO spikes your cardio, it puts it through the roof. If you watch the Reyes fight with John Jones and you watch the championship rounds, his cardio continues to improve. You got a multiple-time offender, I'm guessing, still not being tested for EPO because the test is too expensive. That's what Jeff Novinsky said. It's too expensive to include that test. Well, how about if you've got a multiple-time offender? You can't include it with him? It's not real. It's not real.
It's really not, but it is what it is.
Is what it is. So you're split with the UFC.
Yeah, or you pop for adjusting your title fights, you know?
Yeah.
But not even that. John's exempt no matter what, you know?
Yeah.
So is it at this time you're like, you know what? It's time for us to part ways, and then you decide to start going. Is that when this happens? I mean, this relationship's ever. You ain't hanging out with Dana and watching football on New Year's Day. That ain't happening. Obviously.
All right, so this is where everything starts getting sticky. I get out of the hospital. I get my health back. I start going to train with DC. I'm helping DC train. And this is like where I'm starting to realize more about my athleticism, how good I am. I'm training with DC. Like, he tells me right then, like, bro, I'm gonna say right now, there's only one person in this world that I've trained with that can go 5 to 6 rounds with me straight and don't need a break. And that's Cain Velasquez. And now you, the second person. So what does that say about you?
Wow.
He's like, you are that good, but you don't believe. So I'm gonna say right now, as a commentator, I see it. The only reason you lose fights is because you get greedy and you get caught. He said, you should not be getting caught. You should not. He tells me everything I'm doing wrong. He talks to me. And it started making sense. Like, he's right. And I come back out and help him get another fight. And at this point, I've signed a contract to fight Nikita Kryloc. Like, I called him out years ago. They finally get a fight against him. But then all of a sudden, and I signed. I was ready to come back and get back in the win column. And then, again, I just got done with this health issues. I'm talking to my wife. And again, I'm making peanuts compared to what people make. Now, I'm just airing out right now. I was making 70-70 on my 15th UFC fight to fight Nikita Kryloc. But when I go back out to DC on the flight, I look up and I see some of the time it was Gerald Rosenstock, whatever his name is. He was on his 5th fight. He was making like 130 and 130 or something. That's it. And that's just what they disclosed, which means he's probably making more. And I'm starting to think like, yo, what's going on? So I asked DC and tell him how much his coach asked me, how much you make? And I'm like, I'm making 70 and 70. And they laugh. I'm like, yo, for his first fight in UFC, I think he got like 100 and 100. Like, wait, this is my 15th fight making that. So I go ahead, I go to ask, like, yo, can we get a little bit more money or something? And then I asked my manager that, and just so happened, like the next day, I'm signing to fight Nikita Kryloc. Also, he's hurt. I just signed a contract 2 days ago. Oh, he just got hurt, just so you know. But we got this other kid who wants to fight, Jiri Prochazka. He hadn't even fought yet. We want you to fight him now.
Well, he's got about 30 fights outside of the UFC, and he's at the time the biggest, best fighter outside of the UFC.
Yeah,
and obviously now we're world champion.
Yeah, I'm like, yo, I'm not fighting these. No, I told you I'm only fighting guys ranked, blah blah. Okay, I'll fight him, but y'all gotta give me a little bit more money or something. Like, you're not getting nothing.
It's a UFC debut.
Yeah, like you either taking this contract or we're gonna sit you for a year. When you come back, you're gonna fight him again. And that's when I talked to my manager. It's like, yo, is there anything else we can do? Like, I'm tired of playing these games. Like, just let me think about this for a while. He called me next day, like, Cory, I can tell, like, I've been talking to you, and you just haven't been the Cory Anderson you used to be anymore. You don't seem happy no more. He said, I feel like you don't really want to be here. You feel like it's going to be an uphill battle anymore. He said, now, do you want to leave the UFC? He said, like, I can figure something out, but it's like, we can stay. It's going to be a tough road probably back for your title fight, but you can get there. I know you're the best in the world. But if you don't care about the fame anymore, you want to make money, I think if you want more money, I think we can make you more money somewhere else possibly. Do you want to get out? I was like, yeah, I think it's time, bro. I just think the end of my road is here. It's just, I'm fighting an uphill battle. The promotion don't like me. The president don't like me. The fans don't like me. It's like, it's not going to end well for me. Like, I feel like I'm going to go back to where I was in South Carolina, where I just don't care anymore. I'm going to start drinking and doing stuff that's not me. Let's just get out of here before it gets to a super dark area. And I don't want to go there. And literally, I get off the phone with Ali, and it wasn't 60 seconds to 120 seconds later, my email go off. I got a release form from the UFC. And that fast, I knew what my value was. 15 fights. I was ranked 4th in the world right then. And they released me within 60 seconds of me saying, I want to just start over. And I knew, like, they never cared. And that's when I realized it wasn't the fight game anymore, it was the fight business. But they didn't care about me. It was about what's going to make them. And at that point, I talked to DC. He said, bro, you got a second kid coming. You got to start worrying about what's going to make money for Cory Anderson. Like, yeah, I love UFC. UFC made me a millionaire, but they might not ever make you a millionaire. You got to go somewhere where you can make the most for your family. The UFC belt, I know this is you're addicted to. It's a beautiful thing. Trust me, I got it. It's beautiful. But that belt will never pay for your kid's career, your kid's future, and everything else. Because you need to worry about making money. So now is the time. You're going to sit down with the manager, and you figure out what you can do best for Cory Anderson and his family. And like the Lord, I read my Bible, I go to church every Sunday, and the Lord must be looking down on me because within the next 3 hours, I got a call from Mike Hogan at Bellator with numbers didn't even think was possible. Like, yo, what? Wait, what? Is that like that's what I'm gonna get after my contract's up? Like, no, that's just your first fight. Like, so hold on, wait. Like, yeah, and you're gonna go up by 10,000 on both. Like, hold on, wait. So you telling me I'm gonna make more to weigh in than I ever made in my UFC career with a bonus and everything else? And I was like, pretty much till we offering you. Send me your contract right now. Like, send me that contract. And this, like, I made more my first fight to weigh in to fight Melvin Manhood than I ever did in all my UFC fights with bonuses and everything else. Just to weigh in. That's not even counting my win bonus. And that's more than just a thing. That's like a double more than I made. So when people talk all that trash, like Cory got cut, no. Cory left on his own, and now he's getting paid for his work.
Do you think that the release so fast by Ali, do you think he maybe could have leveraged it with Bellator? I mean, obviously you did a good job on that contract, but there was obviously some pushback by the UFC. Because a lot of times what people will do is at the end of the contract, they'll start negotiating because there's a bidding war. But you left the UFC, made the announcement, and then got a Bellator contract. Kind of hurts your leverage.
I'm not sure if
Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah,
No,
I'm
you
not
know
sure.
what I think
Maybe like when we got released, Ali started calling and shopping around and just telling him like just doing his job, getting as much as he could. And the first email I saw was a Bellator one. I know we didn't go to one because my coaches didn't want to go over to Singapore anymore. They had to. They go there for Eddie Alvarez. And I don't know what else is out there or whatever. But like I said, when those numbers came from what I was making, I could have probably made even more. I probably could have negotiated more. But what I'm making now, like I have no complaints.
Yeah, I think that's probably more like NBA free agency, like where like they announce that NBA free agency starts it on a day, and then that day everybody's got their contract signed. Ali was probably working behind the scenes, new UFC kind of writing on the wall, and had the Bellator thing lined up. That's my guess.
And like I said, when I got out, I was in the gym. I got the release before we started practice. About an hour after practice, we heading back to DC's house, and I get that Bellator, and I see how much they was offering. I ain't even test the water. Like I called Eddie Alvarez, and even he said, like, bro, that's life-changing money. I told DC, that's life-changing money. And it was like, I can't remember, DC or Eddie, but one of them was like, I'm going to tell you right now, the two dudes that just fought for the title in the UFC, they ain't even make that money. And I was like, okay, let's go. That's life-changing. It's time to make some real bread.
Good for you.
Yeah.
What was your experience like with the Joe Rogan going on JRE?
Oh, Joe was cool. I mean, I went on there to talk hunting. He wanted me on there to talk fighting. But at the end, we got to talk both. But Joe was a good guy. You know, he'd always talk social media because we shared an archery and hunting background and all that. So he always post on my hunting pictures and shooting my archery and my bow. And he had to hit me up one night, like 1 o'clock in the morning. He hit me up like, yo, what do you got? I can't remember the date. What do you got planned for this day? Like, nothing. You want to come on and do the podcast? Joe Rogan actually asked me to be on it. And I went out and had a blast. We shot the bow. We talked for like 3.5 hours. And at the time, I remember his guy said he hasn't did a 3-hour podcast with anybody in a long time. This is the first time. So, I mean, he really enjoyed it because when you go in there, nobody's in there but me, him, and the guy working the computer. Everybody else is out locked behind closed doors, so they don't know what's going on. So we come out like, yo, y'all was in for 3.5 hours. Like, y'all must have had a really good talk. He hasn't done that.
Did it help your social media?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it helped me more on the hunting side than the fighting side, to be honest.
Chris, line this dude up with one of them local hunters, man. He's in Indianapolis now. You got to take care of him.
Bro, I've never hunted in my life. Who am I going to hook him up with?
You better call some people.
I'll
handle this, Cory. Call your people, man.
It ain't what you know, it's who you know. I'm realizing that in the last 2 weeks, I landed 2 places to hunt off of who I know. I was going knocking door to door, and it wasn't getting me anywhere. Everybody's, oh, somebody already hunt here. Oh, sorry, son, somebody already hunt here. I mentioned 2 people. One was a cop. He lives on a farmer's property. The farmer so I can hunt there. And the other was my buddy. His father or his stepfather owns hunting land up in Anderson or something. I went up there today. He's like, yeah, you can hunt. It's like I said, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So now, Chris, if you know a farmer or some old redneck with some hunting land, put my name in his ear, please.
I'm on it. I'm on it.
I give you some deer. Everything I kill, I give you some. How about that?
Go, Chris.
Hey, Cory, it's been a fantastic show. I mean, I appreciate you being honest and just saying everything. That's what you do. We know that. You know, like I said, honor to have you around, man. Just a hardworking guy, and man, it's just cool to have you around. So thank you for all your time, energy, effort, and just keep doing what you do, man. Proud of you.
Thank you guys for having me on, man. It was a pleasure to come over here to talk about it again. But it's always good just to let they say the truth will let you free. So when you lay it out, it always feels good when I can just air out everything I held in for so long. Even though, like I said, I haven't talked about this since I left the UFC, but even now, I'm still getting that same sense of relief. Like as I'm letting it out, it's like a therapy session. But
happy for you, man.
You control your own destiny. That's all that matters.
Yeah. All right. Have a good one. I'll see you soon.
Well, Mike, we got Cory Anderson in the books, and fascinating stuff, man. I like when we got active guys that we interviewed too, because they have a little bit of a different edge and stuff. And this was a new guy for me. I didn't know him, so had a lot of fun getting to know him. A real down to earth, like him right away kind of guy.
Well, you see how personable he is, and it kind of boggles your mind how somebody like that can get lost in the mix. Like you immediately want to be his friend. He gives you ask a question, he gives you depth and volume. You know, he meets your need. And like if he's at a party, you know, whether he's talking to you or not, he's connecting with somebody and they're enjoying his company. So it's really hard for me to kind of understand how he was a miss with the UFC.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, I hate to sound vulgar, you know, but with the UFC, you know, they like to fill spots, you know, they, you know, a Latino, you know, an African American, and this, that, you know, I think on the TV show it shows, and then on their roster it shows, you know, they tried to limit the amount of Brazilians in certain. They don't like to have everybody all the same. They have certain spots they fill, and you can argue that, you know, Cory Anderson checks off a lot of boxes that Jon Jones does. So what's a wonder to me is why opt for the bad version of a similar character? You know what I mean? When you could have the wholesome kind of good version of it in Anderson. I at least from the interview I get that it's like he's very not Jon Jones in terms of like that bad boy streak. I think this is like a guy, you know, that you can leave your kids with over the weekend. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm wrong, but you know.
So like my theory is Demetrius Johnson at the time was the UFC 125-pound champion, and it was just plain as day that they did not want him there. They were very unhappy with him.
They traded him. Who's ever heard of that?
Yeah, they traded him, and they went to great lengths to deny him just his opportunity at fighting Jon Jones. Like, even if you don't like the guy, he's earned his shot. Just give it to him. What's the worst that could happen? One, he loses. You're okay with that. And he was an exciting fighter. I mean, he wasn't, you know, knock your socks off, but man, the guy wasn't boring. And then number two, you know, if he wins, then you have to build him. Just put a little money into the guy. I mean, you're putting another guy through rehab that's got the belt around his waist. He spoke up against him, and that was his last fight. I don't know. Great. I mean, good dude though, right? I mean, it's an absolute asset to have in the gym.
As a matchmaker, when I was doing it, and I guess, you know, that's the old days kind of thing, but I would look to when I had a match, I could have a favorite guy. I could think a guy's going to win, but on the back end, on the business end, you've got to be ready for either guy to win. And if you're not, then you get these things like, oh, it's like, you know, the plans seem to be, you know, you get guys shelved for a year because you didn't know what you were going to do. That, you know, none of that is good for business, I think. And I think Cory Anderson probably suffered for some of that where they just didn't know, you know, what to do with him. They really didn't. They really didn't know what to do with him. And the point would be keep him active, you know. They beat people out eventually, and it rises to the top. He was already heading in a good direction, and you know, I see a guy you can work with there. So they're lost.
All right, so Miguel, dude, Bernie Mullen, I don't even know who you are, buddy. You hit me with $20, said thank you for the show. I think he mentioned Eric. I shouldn't say thank you. He mentioned Eric Paulson. He enjoyed that interview. It's actually one that's continuously like in our top 5 in regards to people viewing and stuff. So it's pretty cool. I think we, you know, as a collective are pretty proud of that interview. But man, Bernie, thanks, buddy. Appreciate the 20. It's going for the editor. Like, share, subscribe. Algorithms are murdering us. That's nothing new. And we can't grow without your help. And dude, go to iTunes, leave a review, give us 4 or 5 stars, whoever it is you think that we deserve. I know there's a new ranking system on Spotify as well. anything that you guys can do in regards to that is helping us with the show.
Check out the full interview on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms.